Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Game Face, episode 396 on Sifted Games at Sifted.net. Had a little bit of issues with the intro there today for some reason. Not sure what's going on. Hopefully you guys are having an awesome day. It is an amazing day here in Los Angeles today. The weather is perfect. It was very nice driving over here to do this show. Obviously, a Wednesday, a special Wednesday edition of Game Face here on Sifted Games at Sifted.net. But it may be Wednesday, but I still have my partner in crime, Matt Kyle, here to talk with me about video game stuff from the last week. It's been a crazy week of playing games. This was what I was hinting at when I said when the month started that like it's kind of front-loaded. It was actually kind of middle-loaded, as it turns out. We have a huge episode for you guys today. We have 4 game reviews in today's show. Can't remember the last time we've had that in an episode of Game Face. It's been a while. So we're going to try to be a little short on the housekeeping today. I know I've said that before and it ends up being longer than normal, but hopefully we're going to keep it a little tighter to get in all the reviews today. Matt, how are you doing?
All right.
Yeah?
Yeah. Tired.
Yeah. Neither one of us got a lot of sleep last night for different reasons, basically. So we're kind of going on fumes here a little bit today. For me personally, I just woke up, my stomach was upset, and then it's like, I didn't want to go back to bed because I didn't want to wake up the wife, so I tried to sleep on the couch, and then she had to get up early, and she came out of the living room and woke me up, and I was just like, what's going on? So yeah, I got like no sleep last night. Hopefully you guys are nice and well-rested wherever you are. Matt, how was your week? Did you enjoy playing all these games?
They were all right.
Yeah? He played a couple, actually, that will be pushed into next week's episode. I saw somebody, or a couple people in chat talking about Dungeons of Hinterberg, or
Hinterberg.
Hinterberg. A lot of people are raving about that game right now. I have not had a chance to play it. Matt has, but we're actually going to push that to next week until I get a chance to actually give it a go. So that's not in the show, but we still have 4 other reviews in today's show. We're going to talk about Flintlock, The Siege, and I always said this wrong. I always thought it was Siege at Dawn, but it's actually Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn. We're going to talk about Nintendo World Championships today. We're going to talk about the final retail version of Kunitsugami, Path of the Goddess, and we're going to review College Football 25 for all 5 of you who give a crap about sports video games here on Sifted and on our live stream. So anyway, I hope you guys are doing good. Just a little thing to mention before we get going. We re-platformed the website. And in fact, I'm going to give both myself and Khalib Twilai a round of applause for all the work that we have done. I saw Khalib Twilai in our chat earlier. He helped us with our hack. He helped us get our payment portal back up. Go to donate.sifted.net. And he also helped with this replatforming. And I appreciate him very much. He's done some amazing stuff for us. So everybody thank him in the chat if you can, because I don't know if you noticed or not, but the website runs like lightning now. Over time, it had slowed like little by little, like month by month. And if you use it every day, you may not have noticed that it was slowing down until yesterday when you used the website and realized, oh my God, this is what Sifted was like when it launched. It was an eye-opener for me too. To go back to having the website, just you click it and it just, boom, it just displays. So anyway, it's a huge milestone for us. I realized that you didn't see a lot of like obvious changes to the website, although for us on the back end, there's a bunch of stuff that's changed. But you're going to start seeing visible things coming through for you guys as far as functionality on the website and some other stuff that we got cooking. So anyway, this replatforming was a big deal. This is something that took a while. We've been working on it for a while. And it's something that when you finish it, it doesn't pay obvious dividends for you guys right away. But it did for us, and it's going to start paying dividends for our users in the very near future. So thanks again to Khalib Twilai, who's done a lot of work on the site over the last 5 or 6 months. Appreciate him very much. And if you see him on the website or here in chat, make sure you thank him as well. He's doing great work for us, and I appreciate him very much. So that's a big deal. That's something we've been working on literally all year, is getting this replatforming done. And it's going to open the gateway to being able to add stuff, new features, and other things to the website that hasn't happened in quite a while. So I'm very, very excited about that, and you guys should be too. Matt, what did you get into this week? You had so you're working on some big film stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Some exciting film stuff that you can't talk about yet, though, right?
Not talking about it yet.
Yeah. But you did like a read for one of your films, right?
Well, it's not my film. It's someone else, one of my other directors who has a feature she wrote, and so she did a read through of it with a bunch of actors she knows at a local theater, just to kind of get a flavor of how it played out when other people are reading it, not just her. And
It makes a big difference.
worked out pretty well. It's a very visual movie, though, so it was mostly one guy reading stage directions for an hour and a half. But it works out. Like it's an interesting kind of vampire thing, so we'll see where that goes. And then there's a documentary I'm working on that's getting very close to picture lock, so it'll have to be, but it should be done by Labor Day.
The
We're
documentary.
trying to get it done to submit to Sundance in September.
That's awesome. The documentary that Matt is working on is looking like it's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah,
Just
you might actually hear about this one somewhere other than Sifted.
Yeah, it might get a little play some other places. We won't spoil for people what it is, but it's really cool and something really worthwhile. So anyway, always good to see your dreams coming true, Matt. It really is awesome to see. And having known you now for how long have we known each other? 25 years? Something like that?
I mean, I think I must
24.
I must have met you when Adam was smoking with you in the parking lot.
Back in 2001.
2001 or so.
Yeah. And I've known this to be your dream for as long as I've known you, and it really is just awesome to see it all happening and coming true. So it's always great to see your friends achieving their dreams, and that's really awesome. So it's been a crazy week for us. Here we are a day later and a day smarter, doing Game Face for you guys. Let's check in with you guys and see how you're doing. First of all, I just want to say I appreciate you guys making it here on a Wednesday. We tried to message it as well as we could on social media, although Matt, Facebook right now is a disaster. We cannot promote anything on Facebook right now without our post being taken down. So if you're someone who relies on Facebook right now to figure out what's happening with Sifted, I would just shift all those gears to Twitter because it's just not happening on Facebook right now. One Supermaster Gamer, thank you for Twitch Prime. That's freaking awesome. Fire Native, thank you for Twitch Prime. Who else we got in here? David Nordic, thank you. Erebus Jones, thank you. Toast9, thank you. We got a whole crew. Too Quick Capri, thank you. Who else we got in here? David 5807, thank you. And I think that's all we got for the open of the show. I do regret that I missed being able to thank people in last week's show. A lot of people subscribed in the middle of the show. I'm just going to tell you it's the worst time to subscribe if you want me to recognize you, because once we're in discussion and I'm trying to run the TriCaster and host a podcast at the same time, I'm too focused on those things to get to you guys. So always try, if you can, to subscribe at the beginning of the show or at the end, because it really does matter to me that I thank you guys for doing it. Because as we've learned, not everybody does it. So I don't take it for granted that people should do it or will do it. So I just appreciate it very much, guys. It really makes a difference for us. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Silk Snake says, I always tend to sub during the show. During the show, right, but you should try to do it at the beginning or at the end. That way I can thank you. And Silk Snake, I see you on the website all the time. I thank you all the time. Not such a big deal with you, but for a lot of other people who maybe only show up for Game Face, I would like the opportunity to be able to say thanks, because it really does mean a lot to me. So, and again, I don't want to drag out the open of the show too long because we have a lot to get to today. So let's just get straight into housekeeping. First story. Surprising, I know it doesn't surprise you or I, but the Halo TV show has now been canceled, Matt. They had 2 seasons. It is not going to have a 3rd season.
It will. They're going to take it to another platform.
Yeah, they're trying to take it to some other streaming service, but Paramount Plus dropped it. What does that say to you, Matt, if anything?
People don't tend to watch a terrible show.
Yeah. Why do you think it will get picked? Because I know they're shopping it to other places. Why do you think it'll get picked up?
Just the buzz on it is sort of like there's other people in the industry who believe they can do a better Halo show, basically.
Okay.
And that wouldn't be difficult. So I could see Amazon picking it up and sort of revamping it a little bit.
Mm-hmm. That would be a good partner. I would be excited about that if I heard that Amazon got it, because it really spares no expense. It's not penny pinching.
Also, like, Bezos will just acquire something. I mean, that's how The Expanse got finished. Was Bezos was like, I want to see how that ends.
Yeah.
So I'm going to buy it. And
yeah.
So we're going to finish it. So.
Well, at the end of the last season, they were just about to discover the first Halo ring.
Right.
So they never actually got to it.
Maybe get to your fucking story in less than 2 years would be a lesson there.
It feels like they were overly confident that the show was going to have a home for longer.
A little bit of that, but if you were confident about the material to that degree, why don't you use any of the material?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's an awful show. It's awful.
I couldn't watch it. And I'm a big Halo fan. Like, more so than a lot of people who are left, you know?
Yeah, I try. It's just I don't recognize any of it. Like,
it doesn't feel familiar. Yeah,
no, it's not Master Chief. It's not the same. It's not the same story. It's not. I mean, it was like bad fan fiction by someone who never finished one of the games or something.
It
very
felt that
weird.
way.
It was very weird. It just didn't get to anything quick enough. It didn't. It's like, but Master Chief's gonna take his helmet off and then he's gonna fuck.
He's gonna have
it's
sex.
Just like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, I never resonated with the show. To you, I never connected between the video games and the show. I just didn't.
No.
I mean, as a character, Master Chief wasn't well represented in the show like he is in the games.
And it's
he
like,
just
look, you can do a different Spartan if you want. You can do there's a bunch of different ways you could go with it, but not that. Like you could tell a different story in the Halo universe. You don't want to do the Master Chief, thing, but then why is it called Halo? I don't know. Like there's other ways you could do. You could do like a Band of Brothers sort of thing as like a bunch. You could do Reach. There's a bunch of stories you could tell in this world that aren't if you don't like the Master Chief arc. But instead they just sort of did this other I don't like. That's the thing is like Halo's story is not like amazing. It's not like it's some cornerstone of literature or anything. But nothing in the show made me say like, oh, I understand why you threw the games version of things out for this instead, because none of it was really at best it was a lateral move, and a lot of it was actually worse. So I don't know what you're doing at that point.
I mean, I do expect TV shows or films based upon video games to do a better job of telling a story than the video games. I expect it to lift it up and do better than the games do. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like, I would argue I enjoyed the story in the Fallout TV show more than I enjoyed the stories in the Fallout video games. I'll say that much. So sometimes it does work. It did not happen for Halo. I would be kind of surprised if someone else picks it up. But I'll say this, Matt, it feels like Hulu is kind of the dumping ground for all the shows that get canceled on the other services.
It is sometimes, but I think that's going to be less and less as Disney continues to sort of contract in that regard. We'll see. I think there's a non-zero chance it gets picked up and sort of revamped into something more recognizable as Halo. But, do
you think they might ignore the first 2 seasons of the show and just start over fresh?
I mean, I would.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of the thing is, like, does the series get rescued and do they do a season 3, or does the series does the IP get picked up and someone tries it again?
Starts it all over.
I would maybe argue that you took your shot, and that's like you've had your hype for a Halo TV series premiere, and you're not going to get that back again.
I actually have a production question for you, Matt. Who owns all the props and the costuming and all the stuff that they've already made for the Halo show? And is it possible, if another streaming service picks it up and a new production studio picks it up, that they could get that stuff or pay for that stuff or whatever, so they don't have to make it all over again?
If they buy the show and the license off of Paramount, odds are that, or Peacock or whoever. Who was it? Paramount?
Paramount Plus had it.
Yeah. If they buy the license and the show off of them, they would probably get whatever's left of any of the physical production materials.
That could help grease the wheels a little bit.
Sorta, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, I really cannot adequately express how much I don't care what happens to the Halo TV show.
Yeah, a lot of people do though, and it did do pretty well its first season, but it feels like it did not hold that audience for season 2.
No, it did not. It had a strong start, and that first episode had a bunch of recognizable stuff in it, and then it just sort of became this weird meandering CW thing.
That's a good way to put it. That is what it felt like. It felt like a show on the CW. Yeah.
It should have been Band of Brothers, and it was like, I don't know, Arrow. It was weird. Like, yeah, if I was in a room with the people who ran that show, I would have a lot of questions for them.
Yep. So anyway, if you were a fan of the Halo TV show, unfortunately, I'd say it's what, 50-50 that it keeps going, or would you think it's higher than that, Matt?
I would say it's lower than that.
Lower than that?
Still possible. I could probably get 30% chance somebody grabs it.
I mean, if
I'm
I
not
were
sure we'll see
advising
another Halo show someday, or a movie or something. You know, this is not the last attempt to adapt Halo into another medium, I'm sure. But like, here's a good example of what not to do.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, I'm hoping a lot of producers, production studios learn from what happened with Fallout. You have that great example there, or The Last of Us. Obviously, you have 2 really good examples of how to handle this stuff. I'm hoping it can infect everybody else a little bit.
I mean, those are the 2 sort of templates. Either do the Fallout thing and tell your own story in the universe, or do the Last of Us thing and really retell that story with minimal fuss. Obviously, The Last of Us changed a bunch of stuff, but most of the stuff they changed was for the better, and most of the stuff they changed was idea of one of the creators of the original story. So, you know, like, yes, the Bill story is very different, but it's also better.
Way better.
And so
it's not even close.
Problem? You know, it's and like that, you know, obviously you don't have that same kind of advantage with Halo because the story's not that strong and it's more about the overarching thing, and the characters don't really, you know, you don't have a character in Halo as strong as Bill or Joel or Ellie or any of those people. But like, you could do something with it. Like, I think at this point, I feel like we progressed past the point where we feel like the character needs to take the helmet off to emote. Like, The Mandalorian became the biggest show on television, and the guy didn't take his helmet off except for one episode for 2 years. Like, like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's not necessary.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, Halo TV show probably gone for good. I don't see anybody in chat really crying over it. Most people are talking about like other shows that they liked instead of the Halo show. So it looks like no skin off any of your all's butts as far as the show not coming back. But we'll see. Hulu does seem to be one of those streamers that kind of picks up a lot of the trash that other streamers have cast
I
aside.
don't think Disney needs or cares about Halo. They have Star Wars.
Yeah, that's true, which is a much stronger IP for sure. Next up in housekeeping, today is the day, people. Today is the day that Call of Duty finally appeared on Game Pass. And not only did Call of Duty launch on Game Pass today, it was last year's Call of Duty. I really thought the first one was going to be an old game, maybe Reach or something like a fan favorite or something like that. No, they put the game that just launched 10 months ago up on Game Pass. What do you think it's going to do for Game Pass, if anything?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like whoever wants to play this has already played it.
Yeah. I mean, you've already sold 20-some million copies of the game, which is probably why they're like, well, this is the one we'll put up.
Just put it up and see what happens. And
yeah, because look,
let people know that this is a thing that's going to happen. We're not afraid to do it with a current one.
Yeah. Because, look, there are some people who will only play the campaign in Call of Duty and probably haven't bought this yet. But they'll play the campaign now that they can play it for free on Game Pass. So will that convince them to sign up for Game Pass for a 4 or 5 hour campaign? No. And I think that's really kind of the Achilles heel here for Call of Duty on Game Pass, is that the campaigns are so short and insignificant. It's like if they were 15 to 20 hour campaigns, it would have a lot more weight as far as the service is concerned.
It's really notable to me that it's, you know, back in the day when you know, Modern Warfare was really taking off and making Call of Duty the thing. Like, a lot of the talk around Call of Duty was about the multiplayer, obviously, but a fair amount of it was also about whatever the big centerpiece stuff in the campaign was. People talked about All Gillied Up for years. They talked about No Russian for years. They talked about the nuke that goes off and kills one of your 3 guys in Modern Warfare 1 for years. To this day, people thought the invasion of America and all. I mean, people talked about moments in those games, or the number stations in Black Ops. Like, people talk about those things, the torture scene. And like, I haven't heard anyone mention a single thing in any of these campaigns for years.
They've really dialed it back. Look, every time I go into playing one of these campaigns, I always think to myself, are we going to have one of those moments? And they still have, like, the message before you start the campaign. You want to turn off the really controversial stuff. And then you play it, and you're like, what would I have turned off?
What did I turn off?
Seriously. And you're right. Like, I don't know if it's on purpose, if they're like, you know, we don't want controversy around our games, but that would be very short-sighted.
Yeah. Like, the only thing that has been added by Call of Duty campaigns to, like, you know, common, you know, nerd discourse in the last 10 or so years is press F to pay respects.
Right, yeah.
Which is, I feel, is mostly a mocking reference.
A little bit,
than, you know, because it's a silly, it's a silly moment. And, like, I don't think anyone thought No Russian was, I mean, it was kind of silly when you think about it. But, like, at the time, nobody was, you know, everybody, that was on the news station, you know, I mean, there's even moments in Call of Duty 2 that, like, I remember to this day, that final mortar strike on that one building you spend, like, 20 minutes trying to get up to and plant things on and stuff. Like, and these campaigns just don't do that. They're just all one note, all through the thing. They look amazing, sure, but, like, I've seen this footage, like, 4 times, and, like, I still don't really even know what the point is.
Mostly just a jailbreak scene,
But like that, but the things used to be cool. Those openings, you know, that opening scene, even in the remastered Modern Warfare 1, like that that landing on that ship at the beginning of the game still has some punch to it.
It still packs some punch, yeah.
It's like, where is that?
Yeah, I mean, I
know where it is. It's at Respawn. But
right,
like,
yeah.
you know.
The most memorable thing about this campaign was open world missions. That was the big hook, and it like they ended up becoming these meandering like things that it just didn't hit.
Yeah, like the closest they got for me was Infinite Warfare's campaign at a bunch of moments like that for me, but nobody really talks about them in the wild. So.
We're the only one who really seemed to like that game for whatever reason. Everyone else is wrong, by the way.
I've seen some kind of turnaround on that recently where people are like, we were too hard on you kind of thing on Infinite Warfare, but it doesn't matter now.
It's water under the bridge.
Yeah.
So anyway, those of you who maybe aren't Game Pass subscribers, Modern Warfare 3, last year's game, is up there now. And the other thing, too, is that, like, you can download it to your console, so you can totally play the multiplayer, not have to worry about lag or anything like that. So, if you're curious about Call of Duty, you haven't played it for a few years, you're like, what are the changes? How have they tweaked it over time? Here you go. You
got a good 180 gigs to spare.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They do let you install pieces of this, though, which cuts down on a little bit, but you're right. If somebody wants to play like campaign, multiplayer, zombies, it's like almost 200 gigs now. It's insane. So anyway, finally, Call of Duty is on Game Pass. It'll be interesting to see how it affects the service, if it does anything at all and moves the needle for Microsoft in any significant way. I kind of think that it won't. One of the bigger stories on the website is Sifted.net this week was a story about how 82% of gamers have spent money in a free-to-play game. And for whatever reason, a lot of our users decided to use that article, the comments in that article, as a confessional. And everybody kind of went in and was like, guilty as charged. I spent $100 on this game. I'm also guilty. I spent $50 on this game. Matt, have you ever spent money on a free-to-play game?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Like I told you that one time I spent
mobile game.
$300 on that in a week on that Transformers game to see if it was any more fun if I was just spending like a crazy person, and it was not.
It wasn't. Yeah.
But I bought some stuff. I think I bought some packs from that Marvel fighting game mobile game. Sometimes I bought for some of my time waster mobile games. I think I paid for the thing that gets the ads, gets rid of the ads. If something like I really like if there's a free to play game that I decide I really like, I will usually buy like whatever the starter bundle. They usually have like a $1.99 starter
just
kit
to get
thing.
You going.
I'll just be like, I'll get that just to throw them it's like throwing them a tip basically.
Yeah.
But not much. Like other than that one time I decided to intentionally go crazy on Transformers Earth Wars. I would imagine I haven't spent half that on all the other free-to-play games I've ever played.
Matt, I have only ever spent money on one free-to-play game ever, and it was League of Legends. And I only spent money on that. I didn't even want what I bought with the money. I didn't really care, but I had played it for so long that guilt made me spend money on it.
And actually, when Elisa was really into Overwatch back in the day, I would buy her like the gift card things I probably spent more on that for her than I ever bought
for yourself.
For myself. I just don't. The free-to-play games, there has yet to be a free-to-play game that really hooked me in the sense of something I enjoyed playing.
League is it for me, for sure.
Just doesn't really happen much.
I mean, there's just so many that come and gone. What was that EA one, like Knockout City or something like that? That was like that dodgeball-ish thing. There are so many that have come and gone and just failed. And I've played them all, and I don't spend any money on any of them.
I spent a little money on Warframe.
Oh, you did?
Because I'd played it a fair amount already, but then at one point it was some error that Steam made, and it was like a $120 bundle of a bunch of stuff, and they accidentally put it up for $5. And everyone's like, it's $5. So I'm like, okay, sure, I'll buy that.
Fair enough.
So I bought it, and they ended up deciding the Digital Extremes ended up deciding to honor it. So
cool.
So I got like this huge whale bundle of stuff for $5. Like,
I could see where that would work.
That worked.
But
I saw an ad for a mobile game that was saying like if you play now, in the first 20 minutes they will drop $2,300 worth of items on you.
Yeah.
And I'm like I realize that you're just saying like that's how much you'd have to spend to get those items again in the game. But if you're giving them to everybody, they're not worth $2,300,
right?
Are they? Like that's not what that like. You're really relying on the fact that people don't understand how money works.
Supply and demand. Yeah. scarcity and how that stuff all works. Yeah, I am. Look, if you're looking for somebody who can evaluate free-to-play games as far as playing them without spending any money on them, I'm your guy. I am the champ of playing free-to-play games without giving them any money. It's not something that I'm proud of. Honestly, I probably should spend more money on free-to-play games than I do. But I feel like that's the first question everybody asks about a free-to-play game is, what is it like if I don't pay? Mm-hmm. And so I feel like I actually am a useful service for those people because that's generally how I always play free-to-play games. But there is a little bit of guilt because, you know, I've worked in this industry for a long time. It's been very good to me. And I don't want to be like this scab who's just scraping off the top for free off these free-to-play games. But that's just kind of how it's worked out for me. I don't care about cosmetics in games. I just don't. And that's why I never pay for free-to-play because that's what it always is.
Yeah, usually the stuff I pay for tend to be like actual game. Like I did spend a fair amount of money on Marvel Heroes.
Yeah, cosmetically or
no, because
just in general.
That's how you got new characters.
Okay, got you.
It was a free to play Diablo style Marvel game that Disney shut down. Or it was really actually pathetic. The belief is that Marvel pulled the license from Gazillion because. The license they had was fairly old, and it predated Marvel's kind of war against the X-Men, while Fox had the X-Men and the Fantastic Four.
Gotcha.
The Gazillion's license covered everything, so they could just do Fantastic Four and X-Men stuff as much as they wanted, and they certainly did. And there's some belief, even from people who worked there, that was what doomed that game.
Interesting.
Was that Marvel was like, we want games we can call the shots on who gets promoted, what characters get highlighted, and it sucks. That was one of the best Marvel games ever made. It nailed the characters. The voice lines were all really good. Everybody had interactions with each other in the voice lines, and like even the characters you thought had nothing to do with each other, it would be some weird references, like one comic from like 20 years ago that where they teamed up on something, and you're like, God, they did their fucking research.
That's how you ingratiate fans.
Yeah, and like it was great, and I bought everything. I bought all the characters.
Wow.
I would usually wait for sales and stuff. They did like bundles and sale things. But I had everything in that game.
My good friend.
And the cosmetics were great because they were all directly related to either obscure costumes that the character had in the comics over the years, or movie versions of the character, and they were all really good. And the movie versions and different deluxe versions came with new voice lines, or voice lines tailored to that version of the character. They did a great job, and I was happy to give my money to them on that.
Yeah, my good friend who died last year, he was into that game. It was one of the few games he played. He was a console gamer who had moved on and only played mobile. So he played the Star Wars turn-based RPG. He played that Marvel Heroes. He played all those types of games.
Oh, Marvel Heroes wasn't turn-based.
Oh, I thought no. I'm saying that he played the turn-based Star Wars game and Marvel Heroes. Yeah. But those are the type of games that later in life he was interested in. Like, he had an Xbox, but he hardly ever played it. He'd just sit there in his chair with his iPad, and he'd play mobile games for whatever reason. And he always asked me why I didn't. I'm like, because there's so many other better games that you could be playing. I'm like, I don't know why you're... That
also, by the way, is like, if you want to get money out of me for something like Marvel Snap, you do it like Marvel Heroes. Do I want this character? Let me buy that character.
Yeah.
Do not make me play roulette to hopefully maybe get the character in 1% of the time. Like... That's what I won't spend money on.
He told me the reason he switched to mobile gaming was he didn't like how it was such a big deal to play a console game. You had to sit down in front of the TV, you had to take over the TV, and you couldn't engage with other people while you're playing. He said it felt like he could take his iPad anywhere in the house he wanted to, and he could play it whenever he wanted to, and it wasn't bothering his wife that, you know, their one TV in the living room was taken up with video games. And he said he felt like mobile gaming had become more palatable to his life at that point. So... I was like, oh, just buy another TV, bro. Yeah, like problem solved.
Cheaper than an iPad, usually.
Yeah, actually, it is, yeah. So anyway, it was interesting reading all your comments on the site about how some of you guys have found free-to-play games that you liked. And a lot of you kind of said what I said about League of Legends, where at a certain point you just start to feel guilty because you're like, man, I've spent like dozens of hours playing this game and I haven't spent a penny on it. And you do realize that the people who make all this stuff need to get paid.
Right, but that's also like 80 to 90% of any free-to-play user base.
It's true. Yeah.
Like the whale thing exists for a reason.
Yeah. Yep, it does. So anyway...
economy of scale.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised to see that a lot of you guys had been spending money on free-to-play games. And it's good. Like, those people need to get paid too. The people who are making free-to-play games, they're just like the people who are making console games. They need to have their salaries paid. And
I don't see any issue with it if it's something you enjoy. Like,
yeah, me either.
It's a difference between something you enjoy and something that you're like addicted to. Those are two different. You know, like if I'm addicted to the bar going up. And I'm gonna keep buying stuff. Keep buying,
watching
like,
that bar
silly.
go up, yeah.
But if you really, you know, like League of Legends is probably the best example. It's like if you really like that game, why, you know, it's like tipping them. It's
Well,
like,
the other thing too about League is that when the skins aren't just cosmetic, some of the skins actually change the way characters play. It gives them new attacks, new animations, new everything. And so that is why another way I rationalized to myself spending money. But I shouldn't have to do that. Like, it had given me so many hours of entertainment. Like, I should have given them money way before that. But anyway.
And the skins I mean, that's where a lot of the, I think, personality comes from.
Yeah.
Like, first time I ever heard of League of Legends was it was a cosplayer at PAX East, and she was dressed as Morgan as the baker with a tray of cookies.
Right.
And I was like, what the hell is that? And like, it was weird to me. I remember all of us on the show were like, we've never heard of this game. Why? And like, we looked at it, I'm like 10 million people play this game and we've never heard of it. What the hell is it? Because it was outside the normal press channels.
Yeah, it was. Like, they came and visited us at Game Trailers when Riot was just dinky. And they kept trying to get us to cover League of Legends. And they would come in and like bring us lunch and cater stuff. And it would be like me and the editorial team and like 6 dudes from Riot. And this is when they were literally like a little startup. Like, where some of them were working from home still. And they would come in and talk to us and be like, dude, we're telling you, this game is blowing up. You need to cover it. And none of us wanted to play it.
Well, the conventional wisdom at the time was that, like, there was no reason for Gaming Press to cover free games because if you just go play them.
Yeah.
Like, if our role was to tell you whether something was worth your money or not, free games don't fall into that.
Yeah.
That's why we refused to review RuneScape forever. Both because it was free, and if you want to know if you like it or not, just go play it. And B, none of us wanted to play that shit.
I think what we've realized since then, though, is that people like to hear other people talk about stuff that they like or don't like.
They like to hear their opinions reconfirmed.
Or to hear if their opinions make sense. Because sometimes we'll say something and they'll be like, oh, wait, that actually kind of flies against my argument or what I believe.
But it was also things were changing and none of us really realized it at the time.
No, you're right. And Pactor was actually one of the few people who saw this happening. The whole change to free to play and everything. He's been banging that drum for years now. He saw it definitely way before I did.
No, he was right on that. He's not right about the Xbox built into the TV. Like, consoles aren't going anywhere. But he was definitely ahead of the curve on the free to play model.
Yep. So anyway, it's I think we all feel some pangs of guilt at time playing free to play games if we're not giving them at least a little bit of money. And as to Matt's point, there's nothing wrong with paying some money to play some free to play games. Absolutely. And it was actually kind of encouraging to see that you guys have been doing that all on your own. Silk Snake says, Twitch isn't showing an option to sub with Prime. Anyone else having this issue? Maybe you just aren't ready to resubscribe yet. But yeah, if you go to twitch.tv/SiftedGames, there's that purple drop down there. It should be, if you're ready to resubscribe, that option should be at the bottom. And maybe are you using like a mobile phone or something? Because that's still,
he's on mobile.
Oh, that's still a little funky. Yeah, you have to be on a PC usually. Or you can use the browser on your phone to go to Twitch, and you can do it that way using the Twitch app.
I don't know. Sometimes it shows up, sometimes it doesn't.
It's so weird. I don't get it. But
inconsistent. Yeah,
you can do it when you get to a PC or whatever. It's not a big deal.
I had to disconnect my Amazon account and reconnect it a day later and to get it to pop up once a few months ago.
Really? That's weird.
It's just that whole thing doesn't
work
very well.
Yeah. Hopefully you guys all went and grabbed Suicide Squad last week whenever it was up there for free. I mean, while you were there, hopefully you subscribed to Sifted with Twitch Prime as well. Next up. Feels like every week in housekeeping we have at least one story about Game Pass. I always say that's usually a good sign that you're doing stuff, that you're getting in the news week in and week out. It's good for marketing. With Game Pass, I'm not so sure that that's the case all the time. But we did get, even after last week, after they announced the new tiers everybody's freaking out about, well, that was actually 2 weeks ago now. Here we are 2 weeks ago, and already Microsoft is starting to talk about even more tiers for Game Pass. Reports surfaced this week that Microsoft is discussing a cloud-only tier for Game Pass and ad-supported versions of Game Pass. And Matt, I'm just going to say right now...
2 different ways of slapping you in the face.
Pretty much. But I'm just going to say right now, I pretty much guarantee the ad-supported version of Game Pass is going to happen. it's not just Game Pass. It's like every service now. And Matt, I am kind of shocked how much money they can make off of these ads for games and for these streaming services. Like, I'm surprised that Amazon said to itself, we can make enough money serving a couple ads before every episode of The Boys or whatever that it's worth it to piss off our subscribers and make them watch ads. It just, as somebody who has worked in the digital advertising market now for 20 some years, and I know what the value of a view is, I know what the value of a video view is, I know what the value of a display ad is, I am shocked that they feel like they can make enough money that they think it's worth like pissing off their subscriber base to run ads before their content. Like,
They just don't piss off enough people that matter.
I guess.
I mean, what are they going to do? Not watch The Boys?
After this past season, I wouldn't blame them. It wasn't that good.
I've heard most of the opposite.
Really? I didn't think it was that great. Like, the last episode was good, like the finale, the season finale, but I felt like it dragged getting there for the most part.
I mean, I think all shows drag getting there these days. Like, I don't. The last show I watched that I felt had zero pacing issues. Actually, I'm gonna back off on that because I was gonna say Andor, and then I realized the first 2 episodes are a little slow. And I was gonna say X-Men, but then I remember the Jubilee Mojo episode, and I'm like, no, this is a real problem.
Yeah.
Mostly, I'm just happy if they're paced better than Stranger Things.
I also
Which is one of the most boring things I've ever watched.
I really like Stranger Things. But one thing I would say, too, about this season was, like, The Boys always has gross-out humor in it. And usually it just happens and it's organic and it catches you off guard. I feel like in this season it was just forced. It's like, we're just going to show you something really gross now. We didn't need to show it. It doesn't really make sense within the plot. We're just going to show it to make you gross you out.
Was there
like,
Mother's Milk stuff?
That wasn't even the grossest part. No, there's this other scene.
Because it's so far away from the comic that I don't even know what they're doing anymore.
Yeah.
I haven't seen.
I mean, that was kind of gross too, but that's not the worst.
I haven't seen past season 2, so I don't. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with the show. I just don't have the attention span or time. You know, a lot of times to sit down and watch something that much. Also, I know it's everyone hates that comic. Apparently, I think it's
I didn't know
fine. Like the show's better. Like the show is a better. By far, like certainly the Homelander is a vastly better version.
He's still great. He's a great character. Like even in this season, he was still great.
Like he's barely like he's a placeholder antagonist in the comic for the most part.
Interesting.
And then at the end of the comic, there's like this weird twist where you're supposed to kind of feel bad for him, and it doesn't work at all.
I mean, they do that with him in the show,
right? But Anthony Starr's performance is a completely different beast.
He's so good.
Like the guy in the comic is just a mindless. Like asshole.
Killer, yeah,
a killer asshole, yeah, and it's just not, the stuff that they're doing in the show with A-Train completely different.
Really,
like there is no reconciliation with A-Train in the comic. A-Train is just a giant asshole like everybody else. Like the comic is just a bunch of assholes killing a bunch of assholes.
Well, that was the big arc this season with A-Train, was that his redemption basically.
Right. That not only does that not happen in the comic, that wouldn't be possible
with his character,
comic, with anyone's character.
Oh.
Like any like
That's funny.
There are no good guy. I mean, basically Huey and what's her name?
Starlight
are the only 2 decent human beings in the whole thing.
That kind of holds true in the show too.
Somewhat, but it's more pronounced in the comic because Garth Ennis he's writing. He was a few years older than me, and he came out of the local comic shop who published his comic Space Beaver for him. So I like his hyper detailed, like over. Like he's just like so good at drawing trash on street sidewalks and stuff. I just like his work, and so I'll read just about anything he does. I understand the complaints about The Boys. The comic, it is needlessly violent and sexual violence and monstrous shit and gore and gross out stuff and really outdated opinions about certain things. Garth Ennis is gonna Garth Ennis basically. Yeah.
Speaking of gross out, Terrifier 3's first trailer today.
I saw that.
Although it actually wasn't gross, but the movie will be when you watch it.
Yeah, I did. Like the poster has a nice sort of heavy metal from the 80s vibe to it.
It's a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
They got that thing done really fast.
And apparently it's much shorter than the last one.
That's good.
Which was one of the big criticisms.
Yes, it was too long, the last one.
It was like 2:15. A
just
2 hour and
insane.
15-minute slasher movie is not necessary. Like I greatly appreciate the artistry on display, and I assume that's why the clown's name is Art.
Yeah. The practical effects.
This is art. I assume that's the joke there. It's like it's like the Mortal Kombat thing where you've sometimes been shocked that I think that's funny. Like that's what Terrifier is. Is like, this is pretty fun. Especially the second one where the first one is because I don't think it was intentional, but it's so heavily tilted towards killing women that it feels like I think that the fact that it's more evenly split between men and women in the second one feels like the director heard that and didn't mean it that way and was like, I'm gonna
also the way the one woman dies in the first one, holy moly.
So I'm glad they've kind of moved away from that, and I'm glad that he realized that like these movies should be like 90 minutes long, really. And again, they're absolute trash. They're
really
absolute
like they're just basically a practical effects.
They're
reel.
an effects reel. And they're some of the most impressive.
They are
effects
amazing
I've
effects
ever seen.
Yeah,
like they are
really good.
They are maybe the best to ever do it.
Yeah.
Even as people don't want to say about like the Night of the Living Dead or what's his, I can't remember.
Day of the Dead, Savini.
It's Tom Savini who did all the George Romero stuff, all that. But these guys just have tech to work with on a level. I mean, they're standing on the shoulders of giants, obviously. But like, if you can stomach it, it's very impressive.
Yeah, there's a series of movies I've talked about before called August Underground. It's a trilogy of films, and they're just trash movies, but the practical effects in there are mind-blowing. But it's so disturbing, you can't even appreciate the art.
Yeah, I don't find Terrifier disturbing. I mean, it's a gross out thing. I don't find gore very interesting or
have you heard of those August Underground films?
Yeah, I haven't seen them, but I'm like,
don't watch them.
But I was thinking, when you're talking about that, I'm thinking about, you want to talk about a movie that like disturbed me. It was a Serbian film.
That's another one.
Which is not
August Underground is like that,
right?
Except it's like there's no peaks and valleys. It's literally just 90 minutes of that. And I do not recommend watching.
Yeah, Terrifier. If you can kind of get in the headspace of it, is just sort of it's
almost a comedy in some ways.
I think it's supposed to be funny in an entertaining sort of this is ridiculous way. Especially the second one more than the first. The first has that scrappy kind of,
can-do attitude.
It's got that kind of grindhouse thing where you're not quite sure if it's serious or not. It's like and I think the second one gives you a better insight into who made this movie.
Yep. Anyway, I don't know how we got on that after we were talking about the new Game Pass tiers for cloud only and ad support.
I don't know, but it's more interesting than Game Pass.
It probably is at this point. But anyway, just to put it on your radar, it looks like even more tiers and options for Game Pass.
See what ads you got to watch before you watch Terrifier 2 on Amazon.
Seriously, I do feel like this.
Like they are never, ever, ever going to make the money they made off streaming that they did from broadcast and theatrical distribution.
Never going to
happen. Simply not there. And the C-suite's not going to give up its money, so you're going to cut everything out somewhere else.
And that's what's been happening.
And that's what's happening. Yeah. And they're desperately, if you can make, hundreds of thousands a day by serving up to your mass, you're just like mass concentration audience on Amazon or what have you, a couple of ads for, Chipotle or something, great. Like that's, you're filling in the gaps, you're filling the expectations of the shareholders, I guess. I mean, like the alternate way to do it would just be to make like good stuff that people want to see.
Right.
Like Inside Out. Inside Out 2 is now the top grossing animated film of all time.
It's crazy. I never saw that movie coming at all.
No, I love the first movie, but I was very skeptical that a sequel would work.
Yeah.
I don't know where else you go from here either, because it's like you can only push that concept so far up the chain of age-related stuff until you're like, you're not a Disney movie anymore.
Yeah.
Like apparently some of the early drafts of the sequel were real dark, like because like you're getting into anxiety and adolescence and depression.
It is dark.
You're in a weird headspace, literally. In a lot of places. So I don't know where they're gonna go next. Is they're gonna have to do a sequel to
they will definitely will. Yeah, they have to now. They'll figure it out when there's money involved. They always figure it out.
I have a pitch for that. Give me a call, Disney. I got you.
A1 Congo, thank you for Twitch Prime. I'm surprised no one's been talking about The Boys or Terrifier in our chat. I'm actually really surprised. No one said a word about either one of them, or Inside Out for that matter. Some people were talking about Twin Peaks, Haunting of Hill House. They're talking about films that were decently paced. Next to Toi, is that right? Did I say it right this time?
Yeah.
Yes, I finally got it right. I've been thinking about that. The last time they said that they laugh every time I try to pronounce it, I'm like, next time I'm going to get it right.
Twin Peaks: The Return, like that. I mean, there's a lot of people that would not agree that that show is well paced. I would.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would say it's the opposite. Actually,
Yeah, I mean, I would say. I mean, again, you got to know it's David Lynch. You got to know what you're. I mean, nothing in there. So the only David Lynch thing I've ever seen that I thought like this could use some trimming was It was Inland Empire.
I don't even remember that really.
Even seen. Inland Empire was. It's weird.
About desert California, I'm assuming.
No, it's not.
Oh, really?
It's more just about Southern California. But it's like some of it takes place in L.A. There's a lot of it's like Mulholland Drive, but way less focused.
That's possible.
And like, Mulholland Drive is laser focused
for him.
And basically, what happened with Inland Empire is he got a digital camera, his first digital camera, and it shot at like 480p. It was like a little bit, and he would just call up like. Anyone like Laura Dern or
just actors,
just the actors, the actors he knew, and we're gonna shoot this thing, and he just pulled out and they'd shoot the thing, do whatever they're gonna do, and he did it over the course of like a year and a half. I saw it in the Inland Empire. I saw it at a theater over in Pomona, and he did a Q&A and talked about
in 480p on a screen.
Yeah, oh yeah, it was not on Blu-ray for years because of that, because it was terrible.
Yeah,
and at some point, someone asked him about like what this or what because and Lynch is famous for like refusing to explain his stuff. Someone asked him if he would elaborate on something he said about one of the movies he was doing, and he just said no.
No explanation.
But if somebody asked him the usual, it's like anything you're willing to share about what this might mean or what this is about or something, and he said, "I'll be honest." He's like, "I know normally you know that I would usually not explain things. I'll be honest with you. I shot this in pieces for over such a long period of time. I don't remember what I was thinking when I did most of this movie. Like I don't know. He's like, for the first time, I really don't know what I'm trying to do here.
That's funny.
And there's a little you can tell in that. There's some repetition. There's some twists that kind of curl back on themselves, and worth watching the movie just for that.
Okay.
But like it's you could probably get 20 minutes out of that movie and have a slimmer porpoise of a film.
Ilyagix, thank you for Twitch Prime. Fire Native says no matter how many subs you piss off, they're going to pay because they want the content.
Yeah.
The content has to be really good for that to happen.
It doesn't seem to, though. Because a lot of the top content doesn't really pass the sniff test of really good to me.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And a lot of it is just, I don't know what the hell.
But people are different,
Like, I get fucking commercials every 15 minutes. Like, it's fine.
In our show, we used to have commercials every, 8 minutes. So anyway,
I saw a promo thing for the new Walking Dead episode. I'm like, how is that still on?
Yeah.
The Daryl show. Daryl has his own. Norman Reedus has his own show now. He says we're about to show you the best hour of Walking Dead ever. I'm like, oh,
they all have their own show now.
Hold me back.
Yeah. Big words. Okay, let's move on. I don't even know if we need to discuss this. I feel like we discussed it ad nauseum, but I did want to mention it. There's more Assassin's Creed Shadows nonsense going on.
I didn't even read this statement.
It's like I'm actually kind of tired of talking about it.
They shouldn't have responded to the racist dipshits.
Yeah, and that was a mistake.
You're just feeding it.
Yeah.
And no, I'm sorry. There's a contingent of racist dumbasses who think that either they don't know what historical fiction is, or they think everyone else doesn't know what it is. It's like also, I mean, as long as we're talking about fucking historical accuracy, the Pope never fought Ezio Auditore in St. Peter's either. Like I don't know if you know that.
Well, obviously, it's not about that. Yeah,
of course not. It's not about historical accuracy.
I mean, it was really sad too that a lot of those idiots went and carpet bombed a Japanese petition. It's like this supposed to be a petition for Japan, and you read it and it's the word woke every third word.
It's all just weird white guys.
Yeah, Kotaku wrote an editorial about it yesterday. And there was a paragraph where their editor just compiled all of this crap from the last 45 days.
Yeah.
And it was a paragraph this long.
Mm-hmm. I'd forgotten about some of it, too. It's like, all right,
everybody
had a shit fit about Lara Croft's chin.
Yeah.
Fucking.
And it's just on and on. Oh, my God.
It's just have you considered not being giant fucking losers?
I just don't understand it. How anyone wants to live this way.
I don't know.
Or you're just miserable all the time. Everything offends you. It's like, Why do you want to live that way? There's a better way to live.
Almost any other way.
Any other
really.
way? So sick of it, man.
Take up drinking.
Yeah.
Like whatever. That's an improvement. I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. Until they get really drunk and then they do something really stupid. So, anyway, I feel like that's not going to end until the game comes out and then it'll come out.
It'll come out. It'll sell huge amounts of things. No one won't even matter.
Which is why I don't even want to talk about it.
Which is why they keep moving on to different things because none of it fucking matters.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Yeah. Because nobody cares. They don't get traction with any of it. So they have to keep trying to find the next thing to be outraged about. And no one cares about that either. And they just keep moving on. I mean, until you have literally like 25 things that you've done in 45 days.
And how much were this little group of whiny, loud idiots screaming about the Acolyte? And it's still, it's been over for a week and a half. And it's still burning up the streaming. People are rewatching it now.
The joke. Speaking of jokes,
and I didn't even think it was that great, but it's like you can't talk about it because they're not talking about the actual problems with the show.
Mm-hmm.
They're just making weird shit
yeah, they're dumb
up.
cultural crap. Yeah. We got duped last week. We were talking about Hello Games' big cryptic tweets that showed the Earth, and that made perfect sense with Light No Fire, their new game. And as it turns out, he was hinting at a huge No Man's Sky update called Worlds 1.
Which, to be fair, is directly related to Light No Fire. Because apparently they're using the tech they've developed for Light No Fire and integrating it into No Man's Sky.
Oh, really?
That's one of the reasons.
I was not aware of that.
That's what's happening.
Actually, I didn't know that.
You watched that video that they put out.
His developer doc.
They're talking about how the things they've learned making Light No Fire have helped them create this.
Wow.
So it's kind of a soft reboot of the universe.
Yeah, this thing is a huge update. For this to come so late after the game launched,
and apparently part 1 of 2. I have not actually had a chance to load this up. I just had
also, by the way, it launched. So if you want to check it out, it's live.
That's the other
now.
thing is it's like it launched the instant they put that video up. It's like oh, it's up now.
Yeah,
go ahead. And it's like gigs.
Yeah,
and gigs.
It's huge.
It's a big update.
That studio, man,
they still don't let me repaint my fucking ship. I just want to repaint my existing starship. I don't want to be mint green anymore. Yeah. That's all.
Link's So Good says that it's a 20 gig download.
Yeah.
20, that's a huge
That's basically
update.
the whole game.
It is, yeah. Yeah, it really is.
I swear to God, I can change the color of my freighter. Why can't I change the color of my ship? You can even put a little asterisk next to it that says it's not the original color to anyone I might sell it to one day. I just don't want it to be green anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's my ship. It's my favorite ship.
It sucks.
I've had it since the first week of the game.
And here's kind of the big thing is the Horde mode.
Yeah, there's like a Starship Troopers
Horde mode, now. Like an action-based big piece of DLC for No Man's Sky. Like this is the type of stuff. This is maybe the update of all of them that has caught my eye the most because it actually brings some new action gameplay into the franchise. So it excited me for sure. Will I download it again? Maybe. You get towards the end of July, it starts to get a little slow again.
When's
early
the last
August.
Time you played it?
2 years ago.
It's a different game now.
Yeah. There was one other update that caught my eye that I downloaded and started playing again. And then, because I hadn't downloaded all the other prior updates, my mind was blown. And so now it's been a while again. If I download this one, probably the same thing's going to happen. Where I'm just like, holy crap, this is like a completely different game.
Yeah, you can go underwater now.
Yeah.
With the ships can go under. Ships can land on water. Some ships can go underwater. There's stuff to find under there now.
Yeah.
It's
really amazing.
It's remarkable.
Talica 1981.
The clouds are much better. Look at that.
Everything.
That does not look like the same game that launched in 8 years ago.
Matt, it almost now looks like the promotional images for the game before it launched.
It looks better in some
it does in
nothing
some ways.
like this.
Yeah.
In those promotional
Oh no.
images.
But that last shot though, that reminded me, and this shot too, reminded me a lot of the screenshots they put out before we actually got to see the game in motion. And again, the Horde mode here is something that's going to just snare me in gameplay wise. So yeah,
I'll warn you that the gunplay still doesn't feel very good.
Yeah, I'm sure. But he fooled us pretty good. Last week we were talking about it. We're like, it's got to be Light No Fire. Because you watch the trailer for Light No Fire, it says the word Earth like the first 5 times in the first 30 seconds. And then he was tweeting the Earth. Yeah. And we're like, come on, it's simply interesting to compare Star Wars Outlaws to both those games too when we get a hold of that.
I mean, that's going to be a weird comparison, probably.
IGN's coverage. So IGN is doing a cover story for it right now, and their piece of content today is all about the starships and how the starships work. I haven't got a chance to watch it. I curated it. Excuse me. It's up on Sifted right now. I put it up right before I left to come here.
I mean, I'm sure that even from watching the footage they put, I'm sure the space stuff looks better than what Starfield does.
It does. Yeah.
I mean, this is more. The
illusion is better at the very least.
Yeah, but not even that. Just like the dogfighting, the fighting in Starfield is boring.
It is. Yeah. I just avoided it after a while.
There's no reason to do it.
Yeah.
This looks more. There's TIE fighters. It's fine.
Yeah.
In general, but in terms of like No Man's Sky comparison, I think Outlaws is going to be like it's a Ubisoft game in which the map is broken. The open world map is broken up by space sequences.
Yeah.
The exploration is going to be minimal, I would say. It sounds like if you were to put all the planets end to end, it would take like half an hour to speeder bike from one end of them to the other.
It does,
which is actually a pretty big map.
Yeah, for sure.
In the end.
Yep.
So it should be fun. I'm more concerned about the that 10 minutes that IGN put up. Some of that gunplay and combat looked pretty rough.
I've been saying that all.
I think it looked more like that in this, where like she's more up close to them, and you're really seeing how like. And some of that might have been because of the vertical slice demo. We don't know what the actual game's going to be like because like these other guys, the other outlaw guys were not paying attention. Something blew up over here and nobody reacted over here, kind of thing. And that might just be because they're turned off so that like you can continue the demo and not get your ass killed trying to do it. Yeah. But it's like there's better ways to hide that.
Yeah, there's a couple flags in that footage for sure.
A couple of the animation transitions from like getting shot to spinning around and falling down were not very smooth in places. In ways that were like things that seemed solved in things like The Division.
Yeah, and a lot of Ubi's other games. Yeah.
So it's like it's weird.
Shooting in The Division feels amazing, by the way.
Yeah.
It really does. So it's not like Ubi can't do it.
No, or massive. I mean, it's massive doing it. I mean, that's them.
Yeah.
And the animation transition stuff didn't really exist in Avatar, which is the same people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what to think. I'm not. It's not like I'm not going to get it, but like it's still
not long to wait.
No, it's still my top anticipated game. But there were things in that demo, that little demo thing, where I was like, huh.
Yeah. Only a little over a month though, till we find out. So I'm pretty excited for that.
Maybe that's just Jedi Fallen Order trauma, like coming back to haunt me.
It's possible. Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. Next up, here's something weird, Matt. So we're like 7 or 8 years into the Switch's lifespan, and out of nowhere, Nintendo just decides to release a Joy-Con charging dock. And at first, people were like, "What?" I don't know if I realized
this wasn't a launch product.
They've never had one. They licensed it. Hori made one, and Power A made one, but Nintendo never made one officially itself. That changes with this, and a lot of people are guessing that the reason Nintendo is releasing this now is because the rumors about the Switch 2 Joy-Con are accurate and that it uses a new attaching technology. Magnetic is what the rumors are, that they attach magnetically. So people are saying you won't be able to charge the old Joy-Con on the new Switch 2. So now Nintendo feels like it needed to put out a dock so you could still charge your old Joy-Con if you only own Switch 2.
So I wonder if the magnets thing is true. I wonder if the new will be like
the click of
it
magnet
snapping on,
probably
like clacking on to the magnet thing.
Probably that'd be my guess. But you're right. Like the sound that they use for like all their trailers and everything, it's not really the sound of the Joy-Con. It's like
just a sound.
Snapping fingers.
It's a sound that goes with that animation. It's not the sound it makes.
It's not the actual sound.
Because if it makes that, in my experience, if it makes that sound, it's gonna be a bitch to get it off.
Yeah, you're never gonna get it off.
Like, oh, if it's stuck on that weird little plastic thing with
or
no
you've
leverage.
Installed it upside down or something. Yeah, I hear you. But it is kind of cool though. This dock also doubles as like a controller. Because remember, when you buy the Switch, you get that little like shell that you can snap the Joy-Con into. It looks like they've created kind of another one here. Which doesn't help with the lack of ergonomics on the Joy-Con, but...
No, that looks really uncomfortable. Yeah. But,
I mean,
it's
Joy-Con...
something. Like, why not?
I'm hoping Joy-Con 2 are at least a little bit ergonomic.
That would be nice.
I don't understand why they just made them like with these 90-degree angles. It's really weird, but anyway... Obviously, it didn't hurt Switch in any way because it's almost 8 years later and it's still rambling on. So, but anyway, this dock, people are saying this is another hint at what we're going to get with Switch 2, and that's why Nintendo's released it late in the cycle because it needs to compensate for something that Switch 2 will not be able to do. Vincent says in chat they had a version of the shell you can charge available since launch. I'm not sure what that means.
The little Shelly just talked about. There was a version you could buy where you could play. I think that's what I was thinking of.
Oh, gotcha. What was that thing called again?
I don't know.
There was a name for it, but I don't remember it now. So anyway, it just more hints at Switch 2, and my guess is it shouldn't be too much longer until we start getting some concrete material on the Switch 2, if it is in fact going to launch in the early part of 2025. And then our final story for housekeeping is, of course, EVO 2024. We always talk about EVO here on the show, although this year we did kind of drop the ball in that we didn't talk about it the week before to get people excited for it. Usually we'll hype it up like on Game Face before it happens. I totally spaced on it. Didn't have it in last week's show. However, EVO did go down this weekend, and what an EVO it was, Matt. Did you get a chance to watch it?
I watched some on Saturday, and I watched the Street Fighter finals,
which were incredible.
Mm-hmm.
The other grand final that was incredible was Tekken 8. It was very similar. I think both of those, you had the guy who was in the loser's bracket win the first time and reset it and then play the final round for the championship. Street Fighter was incredible. Both the game itself and the players and the competition. Although the loser, what was his name? Big Bird?
Big Bird,
Kind of salty.
Yeah?
Didn't show a lot of sportsmanship after he lost. I was kind of surprised. My wife was really surprised at that. We watched it together. She actually she got sucked in to EVO, Matt. I couldn't believe it.
I've always said fighting games are the easiest thing to get into if you don't know anything about them, because everybody knows what a fight is.
She got into the human angle of it, though. Not necessarily who won or lost, how the people were acting while they were playing.
Well, they've gotten better at showcasing that over the years. Like I was thinking about the first one I went to cover for G4, which is 2008, and how much better everything has gotten since then. And they've got all the cameras. They know to focus on the players between rounds and between. They have the production value to be able to cut back and show them. They're always recording, so if the players do something during the match, they can show a replay of it afterwards.
Yep.
It's a very competent and professional production now. Although actually, when
they had a new space this year, they had it at the Las Vegas Convention Center this year.
Yeah,
and it looked good on camera.
Yeah, it looked very good.
Michelle was blown away by how many people were there.
Stage
My wife.
was great. Oh yeah, it's always been very well attended, and more now because of the bigger
space. Yeah.
The one thing I thought that kind of put a damper on it for me was they were in the period where it was the match where the guy's stick stopped working.
Oh I saw that.
It wasn't Momochi's stick, but he was the one playing because he had that same problem in another
match
years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But during other tech people and a translator came out to help, and the commentators started making fun of how they looked, and were saying like that guy looks like this, and they were broadcasting through the venue. Like
you could hear it.
The audience was laughing.
Man!
And I'm like, that's horribly unprofessional.
Heck?
And a bunch of people were like, "Oh, it's just fighting games. It's just like everybody's up for Razin, and everybody's they're just making fun." I'm like, no, like. You talk shit about the players.
Razin, and as you say that, what do we see on screen in the B-roll?
Talk shit
People
about the commentator.
like
but those guys are out there to do a job. They were only on stage, and we could only see them because they had to come out and make sure this show kept going on.
Yeah.
And several of them were probably volunteers, not even getting paid.
Yeah.
And you shut your fucking mouth.
Yeah, that was wrong.
People. Like I wasn't down with that. I really missed like Seth Killian and James Chen when they used to commentate the grand finals.
The other thing that I noticed was watching the Tekken 8 grand finals, which was nip and tuck, like literally a really great match between two great players. Now, to be fair, Arcean won again. He's like a 5-time champ or whatever. But what struck me about it was how terrible Tekken 8 is as a competitive fighting game visually. Mm-hmm. It literally was just like watching two people just like go back and forth, and then land one punch.
Yep.
Go back and forth, land one backhand.
I mildly got into, I thought Tekken 7 was a pretty big improvement in terms of what came before, but Tekken 8 I have stopped watching Tekken competition again.
I thought it was the game itself does not play well for esports.
It doesn't work very well as a spectator sport for them.
No.
I don't really know why. It's just
the way the players play for whatever reason.
Yeah.
They're very cautious, and like nobody ever try to flourish. It's like I can get in one shot. I'm going to land that one shot, and I'm going to chip you all the way down.
Well, because everything's so dangerous in Tekken.
Yeah, that's how the fights felt. It's just like a chip fest the whole time. But otherwise, like I thought the new venue was great. dude, the crowds were incredible.
Crowds are very good.
Like the crowd at the end of that Tekken 8 grand final, like it literally like almost bottomed out the speakers in my on my surround sound. Like the crowd went off so loud.
Solid competitors. Like I thought. I think the fighting game, the FGC is doing a pretty good job. I think of like highlighting and showcasing the new talent while still paying respects to the old guys.
Yeah, because Justin Wong is like a correspondent
Wong's like
now.
a full correspondent.
He walks around with his mic and interviews people.
Daigo's still around, but he doesn't make the top 8 anymore.
Yeah.
But like he's still there, and like they do like little interstitial things where he and Justin Wong talk about the Evo Moment 37 thing and all that, and I kind of reflect on things. And Taquito, I think, had one. And it's like there's a fun respect for the people who forged
came
away,
before. Yeah.
that I don't think you really see in the other esports
I
areas.
agree. Yeah.
And part of it's because of how individual fighting games are. Like, this is one man versus one man or one woman or one person.
I also feel like the fighting game players are a little older than your average League of Legends esports pro who's like 14.
Yeah, I mean, like it was news that one of the third place finisher was 17.
Yeah. Whereas in other esports, that's the average age.
Ending Walker was his name.
Yeah.
17-year-old guy from the UK. His previous top finish in a tournament was 67th.
Wow.
And he went to 3rd at Evo.
That's incredible.
It's like people come out. It reminded me because Punk won the whole shebang, which. Not surprising. Punk is one of the best.
Consistently great.
Punk is one of the best to ever do it. And they even talked about I think Sajam, one of the commentators, even talked about. I can't remember if it was Sajam or Yipes. One of them talked about after he won about how remembering the first time he came to Evo and how everyone was like, "Who is this skinny little kid? Like, what does he think he is?" And he was just like, he just tore a hole through the expected outcomes of that Evo. And he didn't win, but like I mean. This man earned that trophy.
Punk, the first American to ever win Street Fighter at Evo. It's hard to believe.
Yeah.
But he is the first American to ever win Street Fighter at Evo.
It's amazing. That game has gone from, just fully Japanese dominated to...
This is for him. Applause for Punk.
Yeah. No one has earned it more than he has.
Yeah. I mean, I can't believe he's never won because he is that good. Like, it's mind-boggling.
He's won every other major tournament. This was
crazy.
This was finally his Grand Slam.
And he cried. When he won.
I don't blame him.
Powerful.
One bit.
Yeah, it was great. Evo's always great. Like, always watch Sunday. Just start watching it like 3 or 4 o'clock West Coast time. But like, finish dinner on a Sunday, start watching Evo on Sunday night, and you will be entertained from the moment you start watching until the broadcast ends.
I mean, Street Fighter's on at that point. You missed it all.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you would have missed Tekken.
Street Fighter starts at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, every day has its own appeal.
Yeah.
Friday is pools, so Friday is just wild.
Match
it could
after
be
match
you could
after
see
match.
anybody play anybody. You could see one of the best players in the world play some rando that never sat on a stage.
It might win a round even.
Yeah. Like it's remarkable to see it. And they'll jump between that and that. You get to see every game they're playing. Like there's matches of just about everything you can think of. Saturday is when they do the grand finals for a lot of the smaller games. So that
Dragon Ball Fighters and stuff like that.
Dragon Ball's been gone for years.
I thought Fighters was in there this year. No,
there were unofficial matches, but that was not an official game this year.
I didn't realize that.
It was they had Mortal Kombat, Under Night in Birth,
Celis,
Guilty Gear,
Strive.
Guilty Gear Strive.
Was Grand Blue
Fantasy Grand Blue Rising versus was in there.
Yeah.
That was another Saturday final. Street Fighter 3 Third Strike was back.
Yeah.
And that was a great final. That was the Street Fighter 3 Third Strike really had a good showing. I think it'll be back again next year. There's still life in that game. Like
it's crazy. It really is.
Yeah, people gave
just
it
love
credit.
it.
People gave it credit at the time, but I would love to see Marvel come back.
Yeah.
There was some
if that could come back, why not?
There's some exhibition stuff of MVC3 and MVC2, of course, and like the side streams and Friday and Saturday night are also fun because there's late night like other streams you can find where it's just like people set up in hotel rooms for streaming and they're just doing like money matches or they're doing like weird. I watched Level Up Live did like a weird like team of 3 like elimination challenge where like if someone on the team got eliminated it went to the next person and it was single elimination, so basically if you got rid of a team they were out.
Wow. And that's cool.
It's fun to see like different people kind of take the wheel and see all these guys hanging out up there and kind of let it loose a little bit more.
Right.
Like
Be themselves.
You want to see some drunk commentators? Here you go.
Yep.
It's fun. It's fun, and like, I think the vibe and the atmosphere and the way it all works. I think it works because as a culture, as a subculture, maybe because it does come out of the arcade, and it's just. It was a more social world. It was like you had to be a different kind of person to make it there than to be a League of Legends player.
Oh yeah,
or be a Halo player.
Oh yeah, you had to
be
able to interact with other human beings in person.
You had to hold your own on the machine and off the machine.
And off the machine, there's no
some shit went down.
Yeah, there's no like using a slur and then disconnecting your microphone.
No,
none of that stuff was happening. You had to answer for
it. Part of the culture of respect in the FGC comes from the fact that if you didn't have respect, you were taught it.
Yeah.
Outside the arcade afterward.
Yeah. We should also mention, Matt, that we were concerned maybe when PlayStation took it over that things might get a little wonky. It's been great.
Yeah, you honestly don't even think about the fact that they own this anymore. They really have been hands off in a way that
it's done a great job. Yep.
And
look, so when we criticize, we do. That's what we do here. But we need to call people out or companies out when they do the right thing and do a good job. And PlayStation has done a great job with Evo.
They've done a great job with Evo. Evo's done a great job, sort of coming back from the reveal of one of its founders being a problem, let's say.
Yeah.
But it's remarkable that it has grown as much as it has and has become what it has over the years, and it still feels like itself.
There's one coming to LA now. There's one coming to Singapore now.
The LA thing is the awards show.
Is it?
It's the Evo Awards.
Oh, it's not going to be an actual competition?
No.
Okay.
No.
There's one in Singapore, and there's one in Texas, I think?
There's one coming to Nice.
Nice, France,
Paris.
right. Yeah, that's right.
Paris. Nice, France, which I thought might be like Evo 69 in Nice. Nice. Okay.
So anyway, it was another awesome
it's been a huge thing. It's like Europeans are basically tired of traveling to other parts of the planet to compete in Evo because of Evo Japan and Evo Vegas. And so now there will be a European Evo.
Yeah.
Which is great news.
It was awesome watching it. And again, my wife got into it. She got so mad over Big Bird not being like a good sport about losing.
I didn't see what you're talking about there. I thought they were fine. Those guys are buddies in real life.
Well, when he first wins, he hugs him and says congratulations. But if you keep watching him, which is what my wife did, once he gets away from him, he's sour grapes. Because he also people thought he was going to win.
He came real close. Honestly, I'll be honest. When he got it, I thought Punk was going to roll over him 3-0.
Yeah.
Because Punk's Cammy is just lethal.
It's really insane.
Just lethal.
Yeah.
And it's like so often, not in Evo, but in so many other tournaments, I've watched these guys just fight tooth and nail in the losers bracket to get back up there and get back into the grand finals and finally get up there and off this grueling, and then Punk just goes no, and just like puts him right down, and like. It didn't happen this time. And I was shocked.
It was a great grand final.
I mean, Big Bird's Rashid is great fun to watch at all time, and he really gave Punk a run for his money.
He did.
Probably better than I think anyone else in that top 6 could have.
Yeah, it was great.
Because I was rooting for Ending Walker in his mirror match in the Ed mirror match, but I did not. Basically, I was like, Ending Walker might win this, but he ain't going to win against Punk.
Yeah.
And so it was probably the best possible grand final match between those two players.
It was great.
I thought, Big Bird was very, very upset and frustrated. And I don't, as long as you're gracious to that other player in the moment and as the focus is on the two of you.
Yeah, because he could have just got up and walked away.
And you can step away and have your own moment with yourself. I mean, you're still on stage. You're still going to be, but like, I don't hold any. I didn't see anything wrong. With
she thought it was a bigger deal than I did, but I did think he was a little salty.
I think he was, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, he came that close. He was real close. And both of them, both of those guys have come close to winning Evo before. I mean, it was important to both of them, and Punk's the one that
broke
pulled
through
it out
finally.
And it was a legit win. It wasn't that last round was not some sort of walkover thing. It was just like that came down to it.
Yeah.
And I will say, and one of the other reasons I don't have a problem with Big Bird being a little salty at that point is I don't know how he got hit by that jump in.
Oh yeah.
Like
what the
he's
hell?
gonna dream about that for years. Like it's not very often in an Evo Grand Final something happens where I'm like I would have blocked that.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there. But like that mistake is gonna haunt him.
Brain glitch.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what happens.
Well, because
though.
the other thing you don't realize until you've played some of these tournaments and ended up in a losers bracket is if you're in losers bracket, you play so many more games.
Oh yeah, you have to beat so many people to battle out of it. Yeah.
Like you get like the winners bracket, people are just like because I didn't even think about it, and like because I had played, it was like local stuff, you know, back when they would do more local stuff here in the Street Fighter 4 days. It was actually Marvel vs. Capcom 3 when it first launched, and I won. I think I won a match, and then I lost a match. And then I came back. I won more losers bracket stuff, and then the match I lost was against the same guy I lost to before. And I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm up against you after all these matches. And he's like, man, I played one match since we played. he's like, winners bracket is fucking easy street.
Yep.
Like you're in there fresh, you're ready to go.
Well, you keep winning though.
Every once in a while, you get like the losers bracket guy who's like he's on fire and he's focused because he's had to be on his toes.
Yeah,
the whole
he had to
time.
play a lot more than everybody else.
Ways, but usually the fresher, you know, having the winners bracket be, and I love that they have a little area set up now where they can practice.
Yeah,
while they're
keep
winning
their hands
and keep that going,
warm,
keep their hands warm, and keep you know the two Japanese. There are only two Japanese players in the top 6.
Yeah, which is out of the ordinary.
They were playing against each other for practice before they went in. I'm just like, but that's also, you know, how often you see that in competition? Like two guys are about to have to fight each other. It's like, oh, let's go.
Let's practice against each other.
That's the thing is everybody knows each other.
Well, because they're so good. It's like it doesn't matter. It's like the best who plays the best right now is going to win.
Well, everybody knows how everybody else plays.
Yeah.
So it's like
everything's broadcast.
There's very few surprises. One of the big surprises was that one. I can't remember his name. The one guy who had invented new combos, with Ed.
I missed that. I don't know.
You know where the combos were being. There was that one combo that Ed was doing where he was sending off the level 2, like the big purple ball, and he bounced them on the ball all the way across.
Yeah.
That was new. That's a new combo that player. I can't remember his.
Wow.
That player invented that.
Oh,
and
wow.
he actually named it. Yeah, that was Yipes was making fun of him at the beginning of the broadcast because he named the combo after like whatever he would call it, like the dream with a single hit dream, or it was I don't remember what he called it actually. But Sajam's like, hey, you invent a combo, I think you get to name it, right?
Damn right.
Sure.
It's like skateboard tricks. You invent a skateboard trick, it's named after you.
So like that doesn't happen. Brand new tech like that doesn't get debuted at EVO very often, but there was a little bit of that happening. That was cool.
Yeah. Well, look, we recommend you guys watch EVO every year. I hope someday you'll listen to us because it really is a really good time. Fire Native says, Matt and Shane, everyone in chat, I just got my Backbone 1 Gen 2. I don't even know what he's talking about. Backbone Gen 2 is it one of those grip controllers? Remote play in the house, at work, and on vacation. It comes for USB-C or Lightning connections and worth great for $100 on Amazon. I got it Prime Day for $70. I got a new computer chair for Amazon Prime Day, and I got another.
I think it's a streaming, like a in-house network, like streaming from the computer thing.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've never heard of it. Contano, thank you for Twitch Prime, man. There's a couple others up here I want to get to too. Shelma, thank you for Twitch Prime. Caustic Kip, I think is how you say it. Thank you. Veritas says, how are you not going to be salty after getting second in EVO again? I mean, I understand that.
Again, yeah. And he's upset he didn't anti-air that fight. Yeah, getting hit by that. I mean, nothing even came out. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
I audibly reacted like when that happened. I was like, oh, how? Like, and then it was over.
Actually, looking through the chat, a lot of you guys were watching EVO. There's more commentary about EVO than anything we've discussed so far. Yeah, look at this. Wow. That's awesome. So you guys did enjoy it. And anyone who hasn't watched it yet, remember next year to definitely watch EVO. It is incredible. It is definitely worth your time. Justin Norman said, I recently moved all my stuff before my actual move date and just streamed Xbox stuff to my tablet. I didn't like it, but it was good enough to keep me busy. And I think that's what they're going for. Good enough.
Good enough.
For certain types of people, good enough for sure.
Better than staring at the wall.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, we're about to start reviewing games here on Game Face episode 396. But before we do, here's a word from our sponsor, LS Cream.
Hey everyone, Stevens here from LS Cream. I hope that everybody's doing well. Guys, if you've heard Shane talk about it a little bit, about all the situation in Pennsylvania, getting LS Cream into that, basically you quickly understand that the liquor industry, it's kind of difficult to navigate in. Right now, we've been put in a situation where one of our distributors has basically kept all of our money. That was not obviously part of the plan. we basically started an Indiegogo campaign to overcome that situation. Basically, you'll be able to get, we'll be able to ship you a bottle of LS Cream regardless of where you are. A lot of people in the comments during Game Face, they say about, you know, having LS Cream in Europe. So this is your chance to actually get a bottle of LS Cream using that campaign. So first of all, I want to thank every one of you that supported LS Cream since the beginning that we've been, you know, sponsoring Game Face, and for now, I really hope that you guys are gonna go and support us. And thank you so much. We are not backing down. We deserve a shot. This industry is kind of corrupt, but we're trying to make a difference. Thank you so much for your help, and I'll see you soon.
That's right. That's our man, Stevens Charles, the head of LS Cream. Again, go to Indiegogo.com, search for LS Cream, and jump on it. Try to help them if you can get distribution into the United States. That liquor deserves to be in every liquor store in America, and with your help, we can make that happen. So again, go to Indiegogo.com, search for LS Cream, and support them if you can. Also, by the way, there will be a link down below where you can buy the Craymass t-shirt that I wore on the show last week. And again, I forgot to mention this, but he did. That is an exclusive just for you guys. Only people who have that link can buy the Craymass shirt. So again, when this episode is published live, we'll have a link down below. And if you're watching on YouTube, there's a link in the clip description as well, where you can go and buy yourself a Craymass t-shirt and try to help LS Cream expand into America. And with that, it's time to start talking about game reviews. Our first one we're going to discuss, and it was hard to figure out which of these four games, how to stack these four games. Because I feel like they're all kind of on equal footing as far as like interest is concerned. I put College Football 25 last because our audience not a lot of sports players, but otherwise, I feel like all the games are kind of on equal footing. However, I decided to go with Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn, as the marquee game for Game Face 396. I don't know if that was a mistake, having played it now. I'll say this. After E3, I was really excited about this game. What was shown during Microsoft's awesome press conference, I really thought looked good and interesting. And I was a little let down by the game, ultimately. How do you feel about it, Matt? Yeah. It's
fine.
It's kind of like the modern God of War games mixed with Dark Souls.
I think this is a pretty good example of what would probably be termed a Souls-light.
Yeah.
As opposed to a Souls-like.
At first, I didn't think it was as hard as a lot of Souls-likes. Then I got to a certain point in the game where I felt like it was pretty much just as difficult. I got to a point where I was dying over and over again and having to run back and get my stuff that I dropped when I died, and then I would get caught and kill it again. I felt like the first 5 or 6 hours of it, it was a lot easier than other games of its ilk.
I mean, it doesn't have a stamina bar, so
yeah.
it's automatically going to be easier. It has the multiplier feature where, like, as you do moves and hit things without getting hit, you have a multiplier that applies to your souls, basically, and you can hold left on the D-pad to cash them in. Right? Yeah, you cash them in. If you get hit, you just get the souls without the multiplier.
Right.
So you don't lose anything, but you can level up a lot faster if you're paying attention to not getting hit and playing.
That's
well.
an interesting little system. How you bank the souls.
Like, yeah, it doesn't take anything away from you, but it just only offers you bonus. It doesn't offer you negative consequences.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty interesting concept. Like, I hope other games start doing that.
Yeah, that was a pretty good idea. I thought.
Yeah,
I didn't really utilize it well until probably like an hour.
It took me a while to figure it out. Really,
like, I understood what it was, but I didn't realize how integral it was to, like, really, because the level up, like the cost to buy stuff and up the skill tree is really high.
It's really steep. Yeah.
If you're not cashing in and paying attention to when you're doing that, you're gonna take a lot longer to get up to that total. But it's pretty good.
Here's one of my first problems. I don't care about the plot in this game.
No, it's a very generic. The world is ending, and everybody's sort of.
You're
okay with
the
it.
last bastion of humanity. You're gonna fight the
Yeah.
gods to save humanity.
There's a lot of proper nouns that you don't know early on, and you have to put together by context what happened. And the dead are coming out of the door and are attacking the town. It's like, okay, like very Destiny, but and like I don't know, like the combat in this has this. It's doing Dark Soulsy stuff. You gotta dodge, you gotta parry, you gotta.
It's
block.
got 3 different ways to defend.
Yeah.
You can dodge, you can block, and you can parry.
Yeah, which is
I struggled to figure out which one was the better option in this game.
And you can Bloodborne style counter with the gun.
Yeah. Which thus Flintlock.
Parrying is always best.
Yeah.
Because it gives you an opening to counterattack in. But parrying is a little wonky in this game. Like it's hard to know where, and there's a little bit of input lag, and it's also the parry window's earlier than you think it is a lot of times. The main thing I had with this was the enemies in this really auto target. Like they auto target and rotate like their attack. Like the dodging is almost useless. I
felt that way too.
Until you expand, I think you can get an add-on to the roll, like a double roll eventually. And they're doing the attack, and you'll roll out of the way, almost fully around them at times.
Yeah.
And they'll just rotate and hit you. It's like day 1 Dark Souls 2, like where like they would just rotate, the enemies just rotate and hit you anyway.
Yeah, and they do this weird rotate where they don't move, they don't actually animate.
No,
the
character model literally just spins
around,
to face you
on an axis.
This was Dark Souls 2 did that at day 1 at launch, and they mitigated that with some patches and really helped a lot. The Scholar of the First Sin fix a lot of that. But like if you have problems with that in your Souls style games, you are not going to like this game because it happens all the time.
It does seem to happen the most though when you do roll.
Yeah, rolling is basically just get used to the idea that rolling is not
probably not a good idea. I would say easily that's the least of the 3 ways to evade.
For sure. And I've even my solution to that was like, okay, I'll try rolling backward, rolling away from them, like just to get out of it. 'Cause usually I like to roll around them and hit them in the back, right? That's
but you can't really run that much faster than enemies in this.
You can't. Well, the roll back usually just causes them to slide towards you and hit you anyway.
Yeah,
I've found like there's some jank in here that doesn't feel intentional. Sometimes these kind of games you're like, oh well, they did that because they want the challenge to be this or that. But it's like this doesn't look intentional to me. It looks sloppy, which is weird because the rest of it isn't really like that.
Yeah.
The traversal is it certainly got traversal in a way that like most Souls games do not attempt.
But it's so clunky.
It's weird. It's strange.
Like you have this weird teleport stuff that's like automatic, but just like the regular running. So you have you get a double jump plus a dash.
Yeah.
So you can traverse crazy gaps with you jump, double jump, then dash, and you can get across gaps you never thought that you could. But like that feels awkward. Like I never felt like I had 1,000% control of that stuff. And
it's because the double jump doesn't instantly happen. She has to throw the gunpowder down and blow.
And it does that blast. It blasts her in the air.
And like that takes a minute. And like and the other thing is like, if this game doesn't want you to get on top of something, you are not going to get on top of it. So there are a bunch of things where I knew I could make that jump, and she just sort of hits an invisible wall and slides down it.
Yeah. That happened all the time.
I constantly felt like I was running into game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's also other quirks, like you can't swim, so you jump in the water, you die and you reset. There's again, the climbing and the clambering doesn't feel good. Like if you're trying to get away from enemies, I was never like 1,000% confident that what I wanted to do, I was going to be able to do. Like enemies run pretty much as fast as you do in this, so you think you ran away, and next thing you know, you're getting stabbed in the back by some dude with a spear. There's just all these little weird quirks. We haven't even talked yet about her sidekick here, which is a marmot? Is that what that's called?
No,
in the real world?
It's
like a certain kind of fox. It's a minic fox or something.
It's a fennec fox.
Fennec fox, that's it.
It's a very large fennec fox.
Yeah.
That's a god.
It's a god. And so one thing you can do is you can tap the Y button, and it kind of like softens up the enemies. And if you do it right, like they'll turn purple, and that alerts you that you can just jump in and basically finish them off. But I never quite figured out like the rhyme or reason to whether it actually worked or not.
I mean, it depends whether they have armor on, because there's a bunch of things where you have to
strip the armor off.
Strip the armor away with a parry counterattack.
Right.
There's a bunch of stuff that, like, especially once you get up the skill tree, that it fires off when you hit an enemy at the same time that the fox hits the enemy. So you have to time it that way.
Yeah.
The fox thing is also built so that you can't use it while you're defending.
Right. Yeah.
If you try to make him do that while you're holding block, you will just set off one of your special attacks.
Yeah.
So it's kind of about like a risk reward, like, just activate him and try to make your attack connect at the same time he hits them, because your attacks can also add. It's called priming the enemy.
Right.
Your attacks can also add to that bar. It's basically a stamina bar that you can, like, if you run it down, you get a free hard.
Yeah, they turn blue or purple, and
basically
just alerts you like you can finish them off now, and you do like a crazy finishing move or whatever.
It basically gets you good multiplier, and it can build. You have 3 shots in the gun, and you rebuild your shots by hitting enemies. So
yeah,
it's that kind of thing. There's a bunch of systems sort of interacting with each other, but like none of it's like you're not really on the edge of anything the whole time. It's all pretty self working.
Yeah,
I would say. I never quite got the hang of integrating the fox into my combat.
I always do. Before I start any skirmish, click, lock on, tap Y, let the guy swirl in, do his thing, and then I just trudge in.
Just the enemies that I would want it to work on, it does like 10%.
Yeah.
It just really doesn't. It wasn't enough.
It only works on really the rank and file guys.
Yeah, and I don't need them for that.
It doesn't make it easy to get rid of those guys, though. It's like sometimes I just tap Y twice and attack once, and that guy's gone.
Yeah, but like I can do it in 2
Or you can just
anyway.
hack 3 times.
Yeah.
The other thing that I don't like about this, Matt, and I don't like that some games do in general, is when the attack buttons are the shoulder buttons. I hate when, like, simple attack is R1 and then your powerful attack is R2.
I mean, that's Dark Souls. So.
I know, but I hate it. Like, I want combat to be on the face. But now they do use the face buttons for other stuff, but, like, I would rather use the Fox stuff with the shoulder buttons, because it's not like it's not about timing or anything. You're just doing it. Like, I like combat on the face of the controller. And this is one of those games where the light attack is R1, the heavy attack is R2, and then you use the face buttons on the controller for a bunch of other stuff. I'm not a big fan of that in any game. I don't like it here. I also didn't like how the skill trees work, because as you pointed out, everything is so expensive. Now, I only there were 3 skill trees. I don't, maybe you got further than me and there's more than that, but up to where I played, I only had 3. But, dude, you have to play for, like, an hour and a half to get enough points to just to add one thing on the skill tree. And so
if you're doing the multiplier stuff well, you can do it much faster.
Yeah.
Like, the multiplier thing can be the difference between getting, like, 200 souls, or whatever they call them, and the reputation, I think it's called.
Yeah, the reputation.
They get 200 versus, like, 500.
Yeah.
And, like the second level up on the skill trees are like 7,000.
Yeah.
But you kill a group of guys 3 times with good multipliers and keep banking the stuff right, and you get that pretty fast. But like early on, you're like, why am I not getting the? It's because you're not banking the souls.
Yeah.
It can be an awkward thing, because like this thing is like the issue with the multiplier system is that it's a cool idea, but implementing it in a game with so many weird, cheap hits in it is like, it just makes it sort of annoying.
Well, one thing I realized after
it's not
a
like
while,
you can't advance without, you're going to get there one way or the other. Like any Dark Souls player can tell you, all you need to do is keep doing it and you will get there. You'll get, but also a lot of the skills in the skill tree are not like amazing. They're not, or like
they don't transform how you play.
There's one you really want, and like I wanted the one where if I hit at the same time as the fox, I get healed.
Yeah.
But I had to go up 2 or 3
that's a long
skills
way
to
up
get to that.
Yeah. One thing we forgot to mention too is as you use the fox, you're seeing it right now. So if you tap Y on an Xbox controller, the fox goes in and swirls on the enemy. And if look at the bottom, well, it's gone now. But in the bottom right, I'll just rewind it very quickly so you can see it. On the bottom right, there's a meter there. And as that builds up, it allows you to do what you're seeing right now, which is like a major finisher that the fox does for you.
That's the thing you'll accidentally set off if you try to use the fox while you're blocking.
Yeah, you're right, actually. And I found a lot of that stuff happening, where I was accidentally doing things, trying to...
I don't know why, because the controls are exactly the same as Dark Souls and Elden Ring. I continually drank potions by accident in this.
Me too!
Because I was trying to hit...
Because it's X!
I kept hitting the X button to attack. and I don't know
Me too.
why.
Because
it's
every
not like I
game
don't,
it is
but
X.
it's not. But
Not
no,
Souls.
in every game like this, it's not that.
Not
and I
Dark
don't, and I
Souls.
don't know why. I mean, it's not like I'm not used to switching between that control scheme and the face button combat control scheme in other games, and I don't know why I kept doing that.
9 times out of 10 in an action game, X is your light attack and Y is your heavy
No,
attack.
X is jump. Oh no, I'm now I'm
A is
thinking
jump.
about now I'm thinking about PlayStation
Yeah.
X.
X is on Xbox controllers. X is always your light attack. Y is always your heavy attack,
Usually.
except in the Souls games. You're right. And I did the same thing, Matt. I can't tell you how many times I drank potions in the middle of combat. If something got really intense and my instincts just took over, I would hit X for light attack and I'd take a potion.
I mean, God of War does that too.
It does. Yeah, you're right. So I had that same problem. There is armor in this game, but that's not a big part of it. Like crafting and armor, that's a really light element in this.
No, I mean the upgrading is, but it's like it happens pretty few and far between, and upgrading the weapons is more important, I think.
Yeah, there's like 3 pieces of armor that you get, but you get like I played it for like 10 hours. I think I got 2 new pieces of armor the whole time.
Yeah, it didn't seem super. I mean, at least not early on. I don't know. I'm not going to play this anymore.
Me
so
either.
I don't really.
Me either. I got to a point where I just lost interest. The other thing I realized after playing
It's
it
not
for a
bad.
while,
And I do actually like the world, like the weird thing in all the coffee shops, like this.
right?
Like I don't. Okay, I'd probably read a comic book about this,
Yeah.
but I don't know if I really want to play anymore.
I didn't like.
Also, why? I don't know why this bothers me, but like, when you sit in here, like so you press X to drop out of there, those prompts go away after this little tutorial section, and I constantly forgot which button did what coming out of the little triangle rift,
Yeah.
and so I would always fall to my death brief, it doesn't
'Cause you
kill
just drop down,
It's
basically.
reset,
Yeah.
and so I would always forget, like, wait, which one do I can jump out? Do I jump out or do I dash out? I like,
Yeah.
And again, if you do it wrong, you're gonna come up against an invisible wall and slide down the wall and have
Yeah.
to try again.
The other thing it took me a while to notice about this game is I just needed to use the gun more often. The gun in this is kind of OP.
Yeah, the gun is really needed. The gun is, anytime one of the red dots appear, that's an unblockable attack and pretty undodgeable too, for the most part. You're supposed to use the gun to counter that, and you'll get a little. They'll usually go to their knees briefly, and you'll get a quick hit on them if you're lucky.
But like you get the long rifle, and literally once you get it, it takes
Yeah.
like 80% health off of the rank and file enemies with one shot.
Okay, here's one of the rare examples of a game that steals the active reload thing
Yeah.
from Gears of War. And
Yeah.
if you active reload properly, you get a bonus to damage.
And then it's
on
one
that
shot.
rifle. And that's a one. Even if you don't hit the head, that's usually going to be a one shot
Yep.
on anything that's not a boss.
Yeah.
And the great thing about it, or maybe the overpowered thing about it, is that bonus stays.
Yeah, it does.
It doesn't matter how long you wait to use that next shot. That next shot is powered up. Like
Yeah.
you could not shoot that rifle for an hour, and it's still gonna
Yeah.
be there.
But
And
you
I
cannot
appreciated that.
reload the rifle whenever you want.
No.
So eventually you get an upgrade where you have 2 bullets instead of just 1. But let's say you shot an enemy and you only have 1 bullet left. You cannot reload the gun and have 2 bullets.
That's the problem with a flintlock.
Yeah. But you would think it would let you just reload whenever you want. You get the 2 bullets back, but you can't. But once you realize the gun is really there, I did it. I did it right there, Matt. Did you see it? I
Yeah.
took the potion instead of hitting.
I mean, it was
like-
accidentally appropriate for the
Right.
moment because he did hit you. But
Yeah.
No, I did that all the time, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
I never do that.
Me either. But I did in this game. I don't know why.
There's some element to it that makes it feel like it shouldn't control like Dark Souls.
Yeah.
I don't know what. It feels a little too loose, a little too action gamey.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know.
Maybe it just fools your brain into thinking you're just playing an action
bit.
game. That could
Yeah,
be part
I
of it.
don't know.
But then there's like, it has Assassin's Creed stuff where you invade the fort and you have to kill the leader. And that's where I stopped playing. I got to one of those missions where I couldn't kill the leader. I fought all the way through the camp. I would get to the leader and I'd only have like 1 health potion left and I could not beat the leader. And I just kept dying over and over. And I'm like, oh, it is a Souls-like after all. And I quit playing and I did not go back. So I'm with you. Like, I played this for around 10 hours, and I'm like, I get it. I've played enough of it. I don't really want to go back. But yeah, I just felt like I didn't feel like the combat felt great. I didn't feel like the traversal felt great. I'm not a big fan of the story or the plot. The lead character isn't particularly charismatic. I didn't really attach with her very much. This is meh is the best way I can describe this game in general. And it'll be interesting to see if it gets a sequel or not. Obviously, being on Game Pass is a huge help for games like this. But I don't know. Also, there's no stealth kills. You can't swim. You also can't stealth kill enemies. Like
yeah,
if you
there's not
up,
a lot of variety to how you approach things.
No.
Which is weird for a Souls clone.
Yeah.
Not that it's a clone. It's more of a... Again,
the graphics are meh,
in the way there's roguelikes and roguelites, I think this is a Souls light.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But this also, again, you can't swim. There's no stealth kill. So there's these awkward moments in the game where if you've played a lot of other video games, you're like, wait a minute, why can't I do this? It has God of War level design. It's not really open world. It's like open-ish areas that are connected together for the most part.
Yeah, it's Dark Souls level design.
Yeah.
I mean, it's their attempt at it anyway.
But it doesn't really fold back on itself that much.
It does now. You can open like shortcuts and get back to places, but it's
most of those are the warp pads.
The warp things are opening that big gate there.
Yep. So this game is it $40? Yeah, it's $40. It's available for PC, both PlayStations, and both Xboxes. And you can tell, like, it's not a really good-looking game.
And most importantly, it's on Game Pass.
Right, and it is on Game Pass as well. And it's live right now there, and that's where I played it. But would I recommend somebody buy this for $40? No.
No,
I would struggle to tell someone to pay $40 for this game, particularly when it's on Game Pass, and someone can spend now $20 a month and play it instead of spending the full amount. And again, chances are you'll find something else that you enjoy on Game Pass to get even more of your money's worth once you get in there. So I was kind of disappointed in this game. Again, coming out of not E3, I was pretty excited for it. I thought it showed well at the show, but that just shows you trailers, man. Like they can really sell a game and make it look like something that it's not. I
thought it could be something, and it's just it's fine.
It's just middle of the road at pretty much everything is the best way I could put it. And it's hard to rationalize. Even though this game is cheaper at $40, it's selling at a discount. I still struggle to.
And fuck these things.
Yeah, those things suck.
Those fucking birds.
Yep, I hate these things. And they jump and stuff. Like there are parts of the game too where it becomes very important to manage exploding barrels.
Yep.
That becomes a very important part of the game. Shooting the barrels with your flintlock. And there's janky stuff with that too, Matt. There's times where I have a barrel and sitting there, and I will run past it, and I will lure the enemies, and they'll come running after me. And I will have 3 enemies running past that barrel. They're right beside it. I will blow up that barrel, and some of them will take no damage. So there's little parts of the game like that, too, that don't actually work the way that they're supposed to. And that becomes annoying in a game where if you die, you have to go pick up your stuff again. And that part of it is exactly like Dark Souls. Like, you go to your little bonfire, you sit down, you can adjust your skill tree there. You can decide to rest or not. And if you rest, all the enemies respawn. And that was why I got to that point in the game where I just could not beat that leader. And every time I'd have to keep fighting through the same enemies, hoping to get my stuff back, my reputation back. And I'd get it back, and I'd fight the boss, and I'd have 1 health container left, and it just wasn't enough, and I couldn't, and I just quit. Also, by the way, there's a little, like, backgammon style game we just showed there that pops up all the time. Everybody wants to play you at that thing.
You can get a lot of reputation from that.
You can. And that's the only reason I played it, because otherwise the game is really dumb. It's probably the most simple board
game. A lot of it's like the breaching thing, like Breach 300, that's like, if you're not using the multiplier well, that's like 10 fights.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Like you get 2,500, 3,000 for like completing like basic mission objectives.
Yeah,
and, like that's not nothing either.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, and you use the exploding barrels to blow up doors and things like that. Again, it has a lot of the stuff all these other games have, but it doesn't have much that other games do not have. That's the sad truth. So, not a fan of Flintlock, and in fact, ultimately, a little bit disappointed in it, to be honest. I would not recommend buying it at $40. I would probably spend $30 for it. It's not that far off base. But there's so many better games. It's like it becomes more of a question.
You could use that money to buy Shadow of the Erdtree.
Right. There's just the time that you spend playing this. Like, just go play an old Souls-like that you haven't played yet that's better than this. And there's a lot of them that you probably have not played, even if you are a big fan of the subgenre. So I can't really recommend Flintlock to too many people, honestly. If you're on Game Pass, like, sure, download it and give it a go. But I also don't think that it's one of those games where if people are like, why would I subscribe to Game Pass? I'm not going to go because Flintlock's on there. It's just not one of those games. So, unfortunately, it did not end up being as good as I had hoped it was going to be. But most people can try it if they want to with minimal risk if you want to sign up for Game Pass for a month or so. Any other comments about it?
Nope.
Yeah, I think we covered all the bases there. Okay, next up, we're going to talk about easily the biggest Switch release of the week, and another game that I thought might become kind of the next big thing. It is called Nintendo World Championships NES Edition. It is a speedrunning game, and for those of you who don't know what speedrunning is, it's pretty self-explanatory, but the objective of speedrunning is to finish a game or a section of a game as quickly as possible. And generally how the speedrunning community works out in the real world is people record themselves playing games. If they're good and they're lucky enough, they set a new time. They upload their video on YouTube showing that they hit this new time, and then all the other people, all the other speedrunners for that game, they go back to their gaming setups and they try to beat it. And if they beat it, they upload their video of them beating it, and it just goes on and on and on into infinity. And that's what Nintendo has tried to replicate with Nintendo World Championships NES Edition, which, by the way, the original Nintendo World Championships, is it the most valuable game on the planet at this point?
No. It's up there. It's very the cartridge, the 3 gold cartridges.
Yeah,
they're up there. They're in they're in 10 to 20,000 range. But I think you can get more for that one Stadium Games.
Oh
thing.
right, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that one is the pinnacle, but this is like right below.
It's up. It's top 3 NES valuable NES games.
Yeah. And this game is just basically a collection of mini games. It's like WarioWare if all the mini games were based around NES games. That's the best way I can put it. And you're seeing the B-roll here. Like some of these missions, like you're supposed to complete them in like 3 seconds, and like just 1 extra second can be the difference between getting like a C rating or an S rating in some of them. And then some of them are kind of drawn out. There's some of the mini games that actually take a little bit longer, but usually no longer than a minute. That's probably the longest one that I've seen in this game is like a minute long. Most of them are like 5 to 10 seconds long, and so it's really about like just mastering those very few moves that you need to make and try to make them as efficient as possible. And in the case of all the Mario games, you need to be sprinting at all times. So mastering jumping while sprinting and being able to manage that is the key to success for most of the Mario games. And the way it works is, and you'll see eventually here, we'll go back to the screen that shows all the mini games, they are divided by franchise, and there's 13 different franchises in the game. And there's different amounts of mini games for each one of them, basically. Like the Mario games, so you have like Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers 2. Each one of those has like 20 mini games or something like that. But then you get to something like Donkey Kong, and there's like 8. So they do like, and then you get to Ice Climbers, and there's like 5. So they do tend to give you more mini games in the more popular NES games. But ultimately, I ended up playing pretty much through this whole thing and playing every mini game and satisfying most mini games with at least an A or an A+. In like 90 minutes. I had gone through pretty much the entire game. And then it becomes a real speedrunning thing. Now, my biggest criticism with this game is that there's no head-to-head online play. Now, people who know speedrunning would say, but Shane, that's not how it works in the speedrunning world. I agree. I totally get that. But look, people who are potential customers for this are not speedrunners. That is a very small segment of the gaming public, that people who speedrun stuff. This is supposed to be for people like us who may want to try speedrunning or like the concept but would never be dedicated enough to get into it. And I think for most of those people, they would prefer to play some of this stuff head-to-head. So the way the online modes work is either you play a game and you upload your time and then other people can see it and they try to beat it, or you play against ghosts of other characters. And you'll see later on in the B-roll, like literally you see 8 windows on the screen at a time. And they're like, they're so dinky. And so you're trying to play like these Mario games in this little stinking window. But at least in those, it creates the illusion of playing against someone live, even if you're not. But for the most part, it's just like any other, like a real speedrun environment where you try to set your best time, you upload that time, and then you see how you rank up ultimately compared to everybody else. And that's pretty much the whole concept of the game. If you're not into that, you're going to play these mini games for literally 90 minutes or 2 hours, and you're going to be like, now what? Because as you see in this B-roll, they are very, very simple. Some of them are literally just like, run into the doorway as fast as you can. None of them are engrossing enough to actually capture your attention and keep you kind of engrossed in it. Now, one thing that's important that they did with this game that helps with the speedrunning aspect of it and trying to keep improving your time is how quickly everything works and it loads up. And then the other thing too is that like once you've tried it once, your prior attempts are in the right window. So you can kind of see side by side like the changes and the differences that you're making in between your different runs. I think that helps a little bit. But ultimately, Matt, this is a speedrunning game. And how many people really care about speedrunning? I mean, I can look at Sifted's data when we put up speedrunning videos. Not many of our people even care about speedrunning all that much.
It's a different demographic.
Yeah. And I don't think it's all that large.
I mean, certainly not the people who actually do it.
Yeah. Have you ever been into speedrunning? Have you ever found one game that you tried to or one level or anything?
No, I mean, not like to the degree that real speedrunners do. Like I used to be able to. It was more interesting to me to finish games without being hit.
Yeah,
that was usually what
no hit runs.
I could do no hit runs on the Game Gear Shinobi, most of the Shinobi games.
Yeah,
actually, I couldn't do it now, but I don't have the patience to do anything. I mean, Summoning Salt is the core speedrunning YouTube channel, I would say, that does those documentaries about all the world records or things. A lot of it's very interesting. Summoning Salt has almost 2 million subscribers.
Okay.
So
Games Done Quick probably should be.
Games Done Quick is up there.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched their the Summoning Salt World History of Tetris World Records, get off your ass. Like, that's a great story.
Some of those, I haven't watched a lot of their videos, but I do watch every once in a while speedrunning documentaries where somebody who's in the community creates a documentary video on YouTube about setting the record in Super Mario 64 or whatever. And there is a little bit, when I start watching this stuff, a little bit of an air of like, am I like the only person in the world watching this?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even that the view counts are that bad. It's just so meta. And they're talking about like some dude who was just a name on a message board 35 years ago and nobody knows who he actually is. And they're trying to like create interest. And it's just like, and they'll refer to him for like the next 30 minutes about this dude that was just a name on a message board 30 years. It's very bizarre.
Summoning Salt, I think, is good at it because he explains what they're doing, what they discovered was important, and how they're trying to use it to do the next thing. He puts up graphics that show the change in the world record time or whatever, like all the course thing. He makes it dramatic.
Okay.
It makes it's like a 30 for 30, basically.
This
it's
guy
the
is
only time I'm interested in. Like, so Games Done Quick, 2023's Awesome Games Done Quick was had 10.5 million total viewer hours, but peak viewership was 90,000 at one time.
Okay, that's pretty good.
So it's a thing. Most popular stream was Castlevania Symphony of the Night run, which was 15,705 viewers. Peak viewers 90,000, viewer hours 78,000 hours. I mean, God, people love Castlevania.
Yeah.
Damn.
Those games are good for speedrunning too.
And viewership has gone down over the years.
For Awesome Games Done Quick. They just had one like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, viewer hours. So viewer hours of the latest one were 10.5 million, or 2023 was 10.5 million, whereas the viewer hours in 2019 was 21.5 million. I'm not sure what the difference, what the reasoning.
Could just be marketing or other stuff happening at the same time.
Maybe.
There's a bunch of stuff that could affect it. Yeah.
Like, I think it's an interesting thing. It's not something I would ever want to do because I don't have the patience to play a game over and over again like that. I don't. It's not a thing that's
it's kind of cool how this mitigates that. It's like just play this little section of the game over and over again instead of having to play the whole thing.
Yeah, it's one way to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like a nice little training mode kind of thing.
And there will be esports competitions around this, by the way, that Nintendo will sponsor, that'll be official. They did it at E3 the one year. They actually brought back the old version of the game for a competition at E3. But that was years and years ago now.
Yeah, and I wonder, like I know it says NES edition. It makes me wonder if they do other editions.
They will, I'm sure.
Like, I would certainly be more interested in an SNES edition of this.
It kind of will end there, though, right? Like, you think they'll do an N64 edition?
I mean, that kind of depends on their
that would be cool.
Emulation tech. They can.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be. It feels to me like it'd be a chance to really exploit the the weirdness you can get out of Super Mario 64. Like, I don't see a reason not to do it.
Yeah. Or Ocarina of Time. There's all these weird hacks where you can jump
Yeah.
backwards through fences and all those, like, what are they called? Sequence breaks or whatever?
Yeah.
I had fun with this while it lasted, but it literally lasted 90 minutes. And they're selling the game for, let me double check this so I have it accurate. Ooh, where is my notes? I know I wrote it down. Oh, I can't find it. I think it's $30 or $40. It is definitely at a discount for sure. But again, it's like if you're not going to get into the whole online environment of uploading your times and like trying to beat other people's times, it's $30. Yeah, I found it in my notes. It's, again, you're going to get minimal entertainment out of this thing. Like, you know, I was a big Donkey Kong player back in the day, and so I got S ranks on pretty much all the Donkey Kong things in this. And that you did actually have to basically finish the entire boards for Donkey Kong, and those are some of the longer ones in the game. But
Like Vincent says, there's like 5 to 7 minute challenges and some of the legend challenges.
oh, okay,
Like the expert stuff, I guess.
interesting. I mean, I played through the whole thing, and I never got to any of those. So no matter what, the commitment is small as far as the time is concerned. So if you are somebody who only has patches of time here and there to play games, maybe you have a bunch of kids and you're really busy at work or whatever, this game might fit the bill. And I would say kids will probably like this a lot because particularly Gen Alpha, who have problems like paying attention to stuff for very long, this is kind of like the ideal game for somebody like that. Who just doesn't have a long attention span or maybe has ADHD or something like that. This game in particular is perfect for people like that. So there is an audience for it. It's definitely not me. I don't think I'll ever be into speedrunning. It's one of those things that I admire that other people do. Like Super Mario 64 speedruns, as somebody who was pretty damn good at that game when it came out, those runs blow my mind. How good people are at that game. And how they jump blindly towards the camera and know exactly where they're going to land without seeing where they're going to land. It really is crazy. But it's not crazy enough to inspire me to do it. This is as close as I'll ever get to speedrunning, I think, Matt. And I mean, I enjoyed it for a little bit, but it's really hard for me to recommend for anyone to purchase unless you foresee yourself really getting into the meta, the expert angles of this stuff, and really trying to compete at it. I just don't see, even at $30, where it's a good purchase. So I had fun while it lasted. It just sadly didn't last all that long. And are you interested in it at all, Matt? Did you even think about giving it a go? No? You've never been into speedrunning really at all?
No.
Yeah.
Like, it's not... I don't care.
Yeah, I don't think it even crosses most people's minds. So it's a little interesting that Nintendo kind of went out on a limb to do this. And I do think that there will eventually be, definitely an SNES, N64 or 50/50, but...
I'd imagine you do a Game Boy one, a Game Boy Advance one.
The other thing, too, is that, like, DLC for this should just roll on forever. Like, they can start making mini games out of all the games for the NES. They can start licensing third-party games and work with partners and things like that. I mean, the DLC for this could go on literally almost forever. And SNES, too. It had so many games that it could almost go on forever. So I do understand why Nintendo put this out. I do also think, though, that it's overestimating how many people care about stuff like this. I feel like Nintendo has hubris, though, where it's like, but it's our games, so people are going to care.
Most people don't even know what speedrunning is.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm sure...
That's why I explained it when we started this segment.
They'll just sort of, like, buy this game and think of it as a little mini-game collection.
Yeah. It is very much like Wario.
Because this isn't really speedrunning. It's WarioWare with NES games.
Yeah. Well, the time that you complete them matters more than WarioWare, but...
Because there's no overarching goal beyond
There's
that.
no finish for, like there is in a lot of WarioWare
But, like,
games.
I mean, that's basically what they're doing with this. Like, you know, speedrunning isn't about collecting all the coins faster. It's about, like, you know, getting through the game.
Yeah.
So it's... I don't know. It's an interesting take on it. It's still not particularly interesting. It's certainly not a $40 or $30 game to me.
Yeah.
I might be interested in a Super Nintendo or N64 version more.
Yeah.
Because I used to be pretty good at GoldenEye because you had to get through you had to get through those levels at a certain speed to get the 007.
The 007 ratings. Yeah. I did that too. It was hard.
That's probably the closest closest I've ever come to doing speed running was probably GoldenEye. And,
Me too, actually.
And Rogue Squadron.
Yeah, GoldenEye. Those were almost all speed running challenges for the 007 level. Yeah. I mean, I had a buddy who lived underneath me, and we were racing to see who could finish all the 007 stuff first. And some of that stuff was hard. Like, literally, just taken one step in the wrong direction and you start over. Yeah.
Yep.
Rare was really good about setting the times for that stuff, oddly enough. So anyway, there you go. That is Nintendo World Championships NES Edition. It is $30. It is for Switch, and I do not recommend that you pick it up. All right, our third review for Game Face 396 is a game that we kind of covered pretty in depth not all that long ago when I played the demo. Is Kunitsugami, and I have learned the name of the game at this point. I do remember it. It's a Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess. It is Capcom's crazy hack and slash cross with tower defense. I was the only one who played it when we talked about it before. Now Matt has spent some significant time with it, and I have played a ton more than I did in the demo. And so here we are to talk about it and give our final verdict on the game. Matt, I've obviously already shared my general impressions of it. What are yours?
Not at risk of repeating myself on Flintlock, it's fine. It's a lot more straightforward than I thought it was going to be from the trailer, because the trailers made it was very hard to tell what the hell it was. But it's not. I will say that I think the art direction is the star of the show here. Like the character design and the monster design. I mean, it's very. I mean, I know it's drawing a lot from Japanese mythology and yokai stuff, but like it's really well done and really well realized. Like there's so much happening on screen at once. There's so much stuff going on every character model. Like the first boss that comes out and rips its own head open to like create its kind of head, its mouth. And stuff. It's, like, it's really cool.
It's doing some stuff.
Weird shit. The game itself, I feel, is shockingly pedestrian considering the subject matter and the concept. Like, it's just sort of
when you explain it takes quite a while to explain it. But once you play it, you're like, it should be much easier to describe than it is.
Yeah, it's just, you've got you're supposed to escort the goddess or the priestess or whoever she is to the end of the level so she can purify the gate. And if you have a certain time limit, and if the time limit, if it's day and night, if it gets night before she can very slowly dance her way to the end of the level, the gate starts spitting monsters out, and you have to beat them. And you have these characters you can place as like archers. You make them archers or axe woodcutters, and then you can upgrade them and all that stuff.
And you get magic caster.
Magic guys who slow them down and can cast stuff at them, and like so you guys have to decide who you like, what kind of mix of units you want to use. But then your main thing is you're this like magic ghost demon samurai guy, and you have crazy you're way more powerful than everything else, and you are the center of the defense. Everything else is supplementing you. It's tower defense only if you fuck up.
You'll never set up your units in such a way that they can handle it all.
I did once.
Really? You didn't have to hack anything?
No, because the one of the challenges in the first level is let the woodcutters kill 50 enemies, which is almost all of them. And so I set them. I would already finished the level and upgraded them as much as I could, and then I just stood them all right in front of the thing and just stood there
to see if they could handle it.
And I didn't have to kill a single. I had to hit them a couple times. I had to hit one and kind of knock him back into them, but they killed every single enemy.
Interesting.
And only one of them got hurt the whole time.
Generally, I do not think that is a winning strategy in this game.
That is not how I would suggest playing most of this. No.
No, I don't think it's possible in most levels.
Probably not.
Even if you put like your two archers up high,
the archers and the riflemen just don't shoot fast enough.
Like their reload time.
Even when you upgrade them, and I will say, like, I do appreciate that you can refund the upgrades at any time. So if you decide that you're done with woodcutters, you got a better melee unit now. You can take all their upgrades off of them and put them in the new guy, or put them in a different thing or whatever. You can always change your villagers to different classes before every major fight.
You can do it live too. Like you can just walk up to them and change what class they are right there in the field.
And there's secrets to find and little things to unlock and bonuses to get. Like there's a lot of stuff to do. Your job is basically to work your way down the mountain, gather all these masks, like the 9 masks of the gods or whatever that are like the guardians or something that have been lost. And every mask gives you a new type of unit. And then you can kind of go from there. And then once you get to the bottom, theoretically, you unite everything and can enact the ritual that will let you work your way back up to the top and take the mountain back from the evil spirits that have controlled it. but like as a tower defense game, it's fairly anemic because it's very simple and you can't really only tower defense. And as a hack and slash game, it's weirdly floaty and you overcommit to moves, and for some reason dodge is on left stick click and an L3.
It's not that you ever even need to use it even.
Sometimes, like, I used it fairly often. I just found it in an awkward position.
I hardly ever used it. Because you're so powerful. You pretty much kill everything with one hit.
Sure, but against bosses, you got to use it pretty regularly. I used it all the time in boss fights.
But if you die in this, you don't even really die. Your character you turn into an orb, and like 20 seconds later, your character is revived.
Well, I admit I've never died in this.
Oh, I have, for sure.
I have never actually failed a level.
I definitely have.
I think I'm only about halfway down the mountain. The completion time seems to be about 13 hours. I'm probably about halfway through the game. But it's fine. I do kind of feel like it's shown me all its tricks.
I was surprised that
if I keep playing, it will be to see more of the monsters and more of the world. Because the best part of the game is the art direction.
It is, yeah. I was surprised how in the final game how slowly you get new units.
Yeah, it is a long road.
Because in the demo, as it turns out, the demo was just the beginning of the game without the opening cutscene. In the demo, you play it for like an hour and you get like 3 new units. But then you get the final game and you play it for like 7 or 8 hours and you still pretty much have those same 3 units, but you've just leveled them up a bunch.
Yeah, you have the woodcutters, the archers, and the I think it's the aesthetic.
Yeah, aesthetic or something. Yeah,
you have those 3 for a long
while.
Time.
Yeah.
Surprisingly long because the aesthetic's not that interesting.
Right.
Useful, but like just sort of you're hoping you get a magic. Oh, can I shoot fireballs? No, he's just sort of there. He's a debuffer. Basically.
He just casts a spell to slow people down, pretty much.
And he tends to cast it on the wrong people.
Yeah,
I'm like, no, I got him, dude. How about the guy over there that's going around our whole defense? Like,
that is my biggest issue with the entire game. The AI just isn't good enough. Like, I felt like, and I'm surprised that you've never failed a mission. Like, I didn't fail that many, but a couple, I was like, I don't know how you would not fail them. Like, you beat the boss the first time, the boss we were talking about, where you light the lanterns?
Yeah.
Wow, how?
I don't know.
I fought him like 15 times, and when I finally beat him, it was luck that I beat him.
Did you know to light the lanterns?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I saw a lot of people that didn't understand they were supposed to do that.
Oh, yeah. You light all the lanterns, and then he slows down, and you tap R1, and then you use R2 to send all your guys to attack him. They run over and attack him while the goddess stays back. The reason it kept failing was because the boss would just pile into the goddess, and there's nothing I could do to stop it.
Yeah, he never did that to me.
He did it to me every time. I even tried to draw him away. I would go and fight him all the way on the other side of the arena, and still, after that scene, after he slows down and your whole team fights him, he would immediately go to the goddess and just pile into her and kill her. Like, over and over again.
I had a bit of that problem with the second boss, the flying thing.
See, I beat that one try with no problem.
I beat it with one try, but it was close because it kept doing this thing like where I would beeline to her and just do the air smash thing on her and on archers. I had archers there because he was flying, so I turned them into archers and I'm going to do that. And then I'm like, okay, well he's targeting all this, so I'll move the archers over here and we'll try to. And like he would fight us, and then he'd just turn around and go over to I couldn't figure out what the trigger was to make him suddenly stop paying attention. I was basically trying to do, MMO tank and spank. If I keep hitting him, he's going to pay attention to me, right? Not always.
That's what happened to me in that other boss fight. He would just ignore me and just go kill her. And I'm like, I would have my guys there. That's the other thing. Like, so you send your guys there to defend her. They just stand around.
Yeah, they don't really do anything.
Like, the game works okay.
It just really puts them in the same place as her, so they all get hit.
Yeah.
That seemed to be the outcome of that.
The game works okay when you're playing the normal levels, where there's the path, and you have the enemies are going to follow the path, and you can set your guys up. When you get into like boss fights or open air, that's when to me the game falls apart.
The boss fights are definitely the worst thing.
Because that's when you realize the AI is not good enough for
and also the hook is gone.
Yeah.
Like the interesting part of the game
You're not
is
escorting the goddess anymore.
The escort thing with the tower defense elements.
Yeah.
The boss fights are just
open room.
The boss fights are like bad Pikmin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I just felt like I didn't have total control over what was happening. Again, I felt like a lot of luck was involved. Like even like when you upgrade, one of the upgrades for the axe guys is increased awareness. They'll say, oh, now they'll follow the enemy if the enemy runs away. I never saw any of that.
I usually would have one of them would do that. And then you end up stranded out somewhere over on the side,
And you have to try
and
to
not
call
go back
and
to
not
where
come
you're
back.
supposed to be.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
no, I mean, go chase the thing if you want, but when you kill it, go back to where I told you to be.
Yeah.
Like, that was weird. To
The
me.
whole game is built on the units, and the units are not smart enough, in my opinion. That was my biggest issue with the game once I played it much further than the demo. Is I didn't feel like I could rely on my units to do what I'm asking them to do in a timely manner and in an accurate manner.
Yeah, it didn't bring me back after a couple of play times.
Yeah.
Like it got to the point where it's sitting there on my desktop, and I was like, I don't
Yeah.
know. Mostly because I think I ended like right before the 4th boss, and like I just don't find the boss fights fun or interesting, so I just didn't.
Here's the one you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, this is the one where he just beelined over and was just whacking her with that fucking hand of his over and over, and I basically just outlasted him. And of course, you have trouble because you can't hit him in the air very well.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. Like, you can't target stuff in this game. So when eventually there's flying units that you have to stop, and you need your archers generally to stop them, but they can be flying like 5 feet off the ground. You'll never hit them. You can jump up and slash down. You can jump up and slash sideways. You will never, ever.
Oh, I hit them all the time. But
Really?
very easily.
It just feels like luck. Whether
No,
I
it's,
hit
it's
them or
not
not.
luck. They're just almost impossible to tell where they actually are versus where they look like
Right.
they are. And I figured that out well enough after a certain amount of time, and the archers handle it pretty well. I never had an issue with like the general enemies for that. This was the one, because they got to hit him enough times that he falls to the ground, and then you can unload on him.
Yeah.
But
or he'll jam
but
his
they're
claw
but
into the
I
ground.
even had them upgraded to the point where to add the because I figured the next boss was going to be in the air, right? Because I just got an archer.
Right.
What else was I going to
Yeah.
do?
That's how it
So
works.
I made sure I had them upgrade. I even took an upgrade away from the woodcarvers because the woodcutters, I didn't think I was going to use them, and I didn't. So I gave them enough upgrades, and I went back and grinded some upgrade material to give them the first major upgrade that lets them shoot faster.
Yeah.
And man, if that made a difference, I sure didn't notice it. It felt like they were shooting the same amount as
They chip. They don't do a ton of damage, the archers.
No, they don't do much damage, but I needed them to knock this guy out of the sky, and they just
Well, you can see
weren't
what happened to
fucking paying
mine. He
attention.
froze the two of them over there, and now
Yeah.
they're useless for the whole rest of the fight.
I kept feeling like, a lot of times in this game I felt like I was missing something. Like I was like, what am I doing wrong? And it turned out I wasn't really doing anything wrong.
It's just the game.
Just how the game. I was like, isn't there a way for me to unfreeze them? Because there is when you're not in the combat.
Right. When you're in combat, though,
Can I
you
can I
can't.
wiggle my sword with the peacock feathers on it? And they're like, no, apparently not. Not
Yeah.
today. Like.
And there's the mask we were talking about that gives you a new unit. But they are few and far between. New units do not come all that fast. Most tower defense games, like, by the time you finish the game, you have like 40
Yeah.
or 50 units that you're working with. This one at the end of the game, my guess is you'll probably
9.
have 12.
You have 9.
There's 9.
Because there's 9 masks.
Oh, yeah. I guess that makes sense. Yeah. So it's way different in that regard. And to Matt's question, when we talked about this the first time, yes, it's way more on you to make it happen than the units.
Mitchell, it's a controller, 100% controller.
What's the question?
Asking you, would you recommend playing controller or mouse keyboard?
Oh,
Controller.
I never played it on a mouse and keyboard, so I wouldn't know.
I wouldn't even try playing with a mouse and keyboard.
Yeah.
You are not directing units around real-time strategy style more than 1% of the time. Like,
Is this a
it's
new
not.
Capcom franchise? Do you think we'll see another one of these?
Probably not.
Yeah. It feels a lot like Okami.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw this saw like the samurai, the main guy, whoever his name, I don't remember his name. We saw that guy pop up in like a new Marvel vs. Capcom 4 or
Right.
something. Like I definitely see them bring that in. Like he can summon guys in, and
Yeah.
I mean you could definitely lean on that the same way they brought Amaterasu in to that. I could see that, but I have a hard time believing we'll see another one of these.
There is crossover with Okami in this too, by
Yeah.
the way. And they are sort of similar as far as Capcom's franchises are concerned. Unique games that probably will never get a sequel.
Yeah, and it reminds me of them a little bit in the sense that like there's, there's the god element, but there's also the cleaning up the area element. Where like I was reminded of Okami when you beat the thing and all the demons
Come back
stuff
to
would
life,
disappear, and
yeah.
all of a sudden it'll be green again.
That's what happens in this, because you're basically removing like a scourge from the mountain in each mission. So when you reach a gate, that area will come back to life and turn green again, and the ick will basically disappear. And then there's also the
I think
element
it's
of
very pretty. I really like how it looks.
And we forgot to mention the whole base rebuilding part of the game.
It's because it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. In between missions, you go to this little home base area, and there's these little installments that you need to assign a certain number of units to repair, and then it turns on a little timer, and it'll repair it, and that'll give you currency that you need to upgrade your units.
And the timer is how many levels you play.
Is what you say?
Levels you play.
Well, there's a little clock thing that pops up that'll tell you when they're about ready to finish repairing.
You have to go play another level to make them finish.
Oh, I'm speaking in mid mission. There's the things that you repair where you assign your guys, and then there's a little clock that pops up.
I mean the base stuff.
Yeah. And then at the base, you're right. You'll assign your guys, and then you go play a mission and come back, and it's usually finished by the time you come back.
Yeah, they'll tell you how many missions you need to play before it's done.
And then if you finish those, then you get that currency that you use to upgrade your units, and you can go into the little tent with the goddess, and she'll upgrade your units for you.
And you can go back. You can go back and replay stuff, and they have bonus objectives, and like the bosses all have time attack things. There's a bunch of like like stuff you can't do usually the first time you play the level. So like the first level, I think is like assign 2 different jobs to your workers or whatever.
Yeah.
And you can't do that the first time you play it because you only have one job. You only have the woodcutter.
Yeah.
So there's a reason to go back, and usually that you get upgrade material from that too. So you can definitely grind the optional objectives to get more upgrades to move ahead more powerfully. But you could probably just march through the whole game in about 10 hours if you wanted to.
This game is $40. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah.
I do have it
it's
in my
not
notes.
Full price.
$50. $50. PC, PS5, and Xbox Series. This is not on last-gen consoles. What would you recommend paying for this game, Matt?
Game Pass.
Yeah, it is on Game Pass. Yeah, just like Flintlock.
That's probably be a pretty good $30 game.
$30. That's where I'd put it too. And I will say this: I admire that Capcom publish this game and release this game, because Capcom's killing it right now, man. Like, it does have money to burn right now. It can afford to do fun little experiments like this, but it doesn't have to. It could very easily just keep cranking out Resident Evil remakes and another Monster Hunter and all the other properties that are doing very well for it. It didn't need to make this game. So even though I don't recommend that you buy this, and I would probably buy it for around $30, I still admire Capcom for trying and giving us new experiences and new opportunities to experience things that are new. So even though I'm recommending not buying it, I'm still giving a thumbs up to Capcom for doing this, because we just, honestly, Matt, we just don't see games like this hardly at all anymore from big publishers. Yeah. So it's good to see that Capcom's trying to push the envelope a little bit, trying some new genres and some new concepts, but that doesn't mean that just because it tried it, that it was a success overall. So I did enjoy my time on and off. I felt like the more I played it, the less I liked it. First couple hours, I really liked it. And then as time went on, the cracks started to show. And I enjoyed it less and less until I got to the point like you did, where I looked at it and I was like, I'm good. I don't need to. And plus, there were 3 other games I was juggling this week. I said to Matt when I got here today, like, it's a good thing that I never really liked any of the games that we're covering in today's show all that much, because it allowed me to keep jumping between 4 different games and playing all of them to a point where I feel comfortable talking about them on the show. So things have a way of working out sometimes. But
yeah, I didn't have that.
Yeah.
Because I just played Dungeons of Hinterberg for 15 hours.
Right, yeah. Which I'm now going to jump on for next week's
Dungeons
show.
of Hinterberg is the best thing I played this week.
Wow. And it's not in the show, sadly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, go play it.
Yeah, I'm gonna. And we'll talk about it next week. But anyway, that's Kunitsugami, Path of the Goddess. That's a pass for both Matt and I, although it's not a pass because it's on Game Pass. So if you're subscribing there, definitely download it and give it a go. You may love it. That's the thing.
Certainly worth looking at. It's very visually unique, or I really like looking at it. I don't like playing it as much as I like looking at it.
Yeah, but you may. So this is one of those games where I really feel like Matt and I can tell you all about it and how we feel about it, but I really feel like until you play it, you won't know for sure if it's for you. If you don't like tower defense at all, you could write it off. Even though that's not as big an element as you might think in the game. They're just kind of there to support more than anything.
Yeah, it's really more, but it's also like the hack and slash is not that satisfying either. He feels like a PS2 character. You remember when like sometimes there'd be PS2 games where like the character, the central focus of the game wasn't fighting, but the character could still swing a sword around.
Yeah.
it feels like that. It feels like an afterthought.
Which is weird
except
coming
it's
from
the
Capcom.
main. Except it's the core gameplay.
Yeah, and that does get the combat in this gets very repetitive.
Yeah, and
because
you
you
just
have
sort of-
4 attacks.
You've got a bunch of different combos, and they expand over time, but they all do basically the same thing. And some of them are more useful than others. And once you're committed, you're committed. There's very little canceling out of anything.
It feels like it's on cruise control. Sometimes.
And it's just sort of you're either stuck doing what you're doing until you're done and can go back over to where the thing you missed wandered off, or you've overcommitted and you're gonna get hit.
Yeah.
Which isn't that big of a deal usually, but like I don't know, it's not very fun tower defense because it's so light and so inconsequential, and it's not very fun hack and slash because it's both too easy and not very engaging in terms of how your button presses translate into the gameplay.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a little less than the sum of its parts, I would say.
That's a good way to put it. Yep. So there you go. That's Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess. Again, it's only available for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series, but it's also, most importantly, on Game Pass. And with that, it's time for our New York Sneaker Society Sneaker of the Week. What's up, everyone? Shane here. And one thing you may not realize about me is that I am a total sneakerhead. That's right. I've been collecting Nike sneakers since the early 90s. My favorites are Air Max 95 and Air Max 97. Now, one thing that's different about me from your typical sneakerhead is that I actually wear the sneakers. And because of that, they can get dirty. And that is where New York Sneaker Society comes in. Using their advanced shoe cleaning products, I turned an old pair of Nikes that looked like this into this. With their cleaning products, your sneaker life can go from a year to 5 or more. I know that. I have shoes that are like 30 years old that I still wear because I've cleaned them. You can also lower your carbon footprint, by keeping your kicks looking fresh. For my daily drivers, I also appreciate New York Sneaker Society's Refresh Spray to keep them smelling great and staying crisp. Head to nysneakersociety.co/sifted to clean your shoes like a pro at home and get 10% off your order. That's right, that's nysneakersociety.co/sifted for 10% off. That's right, Sifters. Go to nysneakersociety.co/sifted. And if you use that URL, you will not get 10% off. You will get 15% off your total order. Last couple weeks, I've been bringing products in here. I talked about the wipes, how they're essential. I talked last week about the crazy, like, bionic anti-deodorant spray. I still don't know how that works. I think it might be witchcraft. What's cool, though, about New York Sneaker Society is that there are products for pretty much any price range. If you wanted to spend a couple bucks to get some wipes to keep your shoes nice and spiffy, that costs you hardly anything. Or you can buy what are really the best deal is to get the big packages. You end up getting stuff at a really big discount. And if you use that URL, you get another 15% off. So no matter whether you're going to buy something big or something small, go to nysneakersociety.co/sifted. Make sure you use that URL and you'll get a nice little discount. And one thing we like to do for this sponsorship is talk about one of the under-the-radar games from the week that you guys have had your eye on. And once again, it was very easy this week to pick the winner. And that game, Matt, is Splitgate 2. Did you play the original Splitgate?
I don't even know what this is.
I didn't either. When I saw Splitgate 2, I didn't know what it was. And then we put this trailer up, and everybody on the site starts talking about how awesome the first Splitgate was. And apparently, it's a Portal-like first-person free-to-play shooter that somehow completely slipped under my radar. I didn't even know it existed, but people on the site were all over it. They were very excited about this. So I don't know how I missed it. I'm obviously huge into first-person shooters. I play pretty much every free-to-play shooter that I come across. This game, the first one, just completely went either over my head or went under my radar, but I did not know it existed, but our audience is all over this game. And actually watching this trailer, I can see why they are, because it is literally a first-person shooter where you use portals. And you can literally warp in and out through the map and just appear behind people and kill them. Like, I don't know. Like, it's pretty crazy, the concept behind it. It's almost like mind-breaking. So I can see why people are excited for a sequel. Because from what I could tell from the first game was the concept was really intriguing and people were like, this could be really awesome, but it wasn't executed with perfection. And so maybe people are hoping that this second game, the sequel, might actually deliver on the promise of the first game. But regardless, this was easily your sneaker of the week for New York Sneaker Society. This is the smallest game that you guys paid the most attention to. It had the most views of any indie game for the week. It had the most comments of any indie game for the week. So it was an easy pick for me to call this the sneaker of the week. It's Splitgate 2. User-friendly.exe says it's Portal meets Halo. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the vibe I got from this trailer and from a lot of the comments that people left on the website about this trailer. So I'm excited to check it out because you guys are excited to check it out. See, this works both ways. It's not just about Matt and I turning you guys onto games. You guys can do the reverse for us. There are games that you guys have played that we have not, that we may like. And so if you ever think of a game like, Shane would probably like this, send me a DM on Sifted at Shane. Like, I appreciate that stuff. I really appreciate when people can turn me onto video games and kind of return the favor that I've been trying to do for you guys for many, many years. So that's Splitgate 2. I think right now it's only announced for a PC, PS5, and Xbox Series. There's no release date yet. That was just a debut trailer. And in all honesty, I don't think there was maybe a lick of gameplay in that. I think it was all CG.
Was all CG.
Yeah. But to me, the concept is very intriguing. So, as I always say when we talk about our Sneaker of the Week, if you're interested in the game, go to its game page on Sifted, click the gear next to its name, and the drop-down, choose Follow Game, and then anytime we publish anything about that game, it will be pinned to the top of your Sift. So, again, that game is called Splitgate 2, and head on over and follow it, and that way you'll know when we have any updates for it over the next coming months here. And I don't think it's coming out till 2025 as well. It's still got a ways to go, so just something to keep in mind. And with that, it's time to move on to our last review of Game Face 396. We're going to talk about College Football 25. I'm going to promise you right now that I'm not going to talk about it all that long, 10, 15 minutes max. So if you're not a big sports fan, sports video game fan, don't worry, we're not going to dwell on it all that long. I know our audience. I know that oddly enough, we do have some people who are really into sports and sports video games, more than I ever thought we would have when I launched Sifted. I'm kind of pleasantly surprised by that, how many of you guys are actually into sports, and to be fair, most of you guys are into football, but not necessarily college football, which is a difference, but after playing this game, it doesn't feel like it's that big of a difference. People have been gushing over this game, Matt. It is kind of a thing right now. Mm-hmm. Like, if you watch any ESPN stuff, if you listen to any sports talk radio, this is kind of all people are talking about right now.
I have seen clips of this everywhere.
It's insane.
Everywhere.
Yeah, I know. It's a thing. There's no doubt about it. And I've been playing it.
Like, I knew this came out because completely unrelated to gaming stuff, places were posting clips and talking about it.
Yep. Yeah. It's a thing, but here's the thing, is that I feel like people have very short memories because I played...
I mean, most people who are I've seen, I don't think they played the old college ones at all.
So it has been like almost 14 years. Mm-hmm. Or wait, no, 11. It's been 11 years since the last one came out. And so it has been a while. You got to realize if somebody was like 10 years old when the last game came out, they're now in their 20s. Mm-hmm. So it's very accurate that there could be a bunch of people that have no idea what the last game had.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in college right now,
yeah,
you're probably too young to have really played the last one with any frequency.
Or you were a kid and you just kind of got it. Yeah. You're like, oh, I'm a Penn State fan, so I'm going to play this college football game. But here's the thing. If you're somebody like me, and I reviewed this game for over a decade and talked about it on podcasts for 5 years or whatever, I was always the guy who had to play this game because nobody else wanted to. If you're somebody like me, you'll realize very quickly that this is pretty much the same exact game. That's why I was hinting at people have short memories, because maybe that's enough for people because it's been gone so long that they're like, you know what? As long as it's as good or equal to the game that I played 11 years ago, that's good enough for me. And that is pretty much what you're getting here. Now, no surprise, Ultimate Team has been added to the game because that's how EA makes all its money. But here's the thing about Ultimate Team, Matt, in a college football game, it's ridiculous. So this game has real players, and that's the first time it's happened, which is great. The players are getting paid. I follow college football. I'm a Temple alum. Their football team is either mediocre or piss poor every year. So I like college football, but I'm not a college football head. And so I don't really know any of these players, and I would argue most people do not. They may know the starters on their alma mater or their favorite college team, but my guess is they don't know the names of the backups or the names of pretty much all the rest of the players in the game. And so
No, you gotta be a college football
maniac.
My dad was a college football maniac.
Yeah.
Like, didn't like the NFL.
I know people that are like that.
Didn't like the NFL, had no interest in the NFL whatsoever, but loved college football and could tell you anything about the players, this, that, who did this, why this is. This guy went here, went over here. This school traded for that. Like that, all the drama, all this. He was a big Auburn fan, so I know all the Auburn
SEC stuff,
all the Auburn SEC, all the Auburn Roll Tide shit, like all the rivalry there.
Yeah.
One of my favorite 30 for 30s because holy shit, Alabama fans are crazy.
They are.
Yeah,
yeah, they are. It's true.
If I were to play this game, I would probably play as Auburn or Stanford.
Yeah. But here's the thing: it's like so. Ultimate Team is basically fantasy football. You have a team made of players from all the different teams, but you get
no one has fantasies about these guys because they don't know who anyone is.
No, you get a card pack in this game, and in Madden, it's like, oh my god, I just got Justin Jefferson, or oh my god, I'm a Steeler fan, I just got Najee Harris. In this, the cards turn over, and you're like who the hell is that? It's some 18-year-old kid from Tuscaloosa that nobody's ever heard of.
It's like the. What was it? There was an episode of Justice League where Lex Luthor got zapped into the Flash.
Yeah.
And he kept failing to do all the evil things he's trying to do. So he goes in the bathroom. He's like, well, at least I can find out who is the real identity of the Flash.
Yeah.
And he pulls the mask off and he goes, I have no idea who this is.
That's Ultimate Team in this game. You would have to be the hardest of the hardcore college football fan to get value out of Ultimate Team in this. It will be interesting to see if EA generates all that much revenue from Ultimate Team.
It's only exciting if it's your kid.
Yeah, pretty much. Seriously, though. I mean, it really is. As far as the rest of it, it has all...
I guess if you're, in college and you're involved somehow with rooting for the team or on the team or whatever, and, you can... You probably know your division.
Yeah,
relatively well, maybe. Or
the star players on each rival team, probably, and that's about it.
Yeah, you've read the scouting report, maybe. I don't know.
But otherwise, this is the same game that came out. It looks better, and it does look better. This looks better than last year's Madden.
This looks
in a
really
lot
good.
of significant ways.
Some of the broadcast angle clips I've seen could fool you.
Oh yeah, it did fool me. There's still, I talked about this I think last week or the week before. The animation in this game, when you're breaking free, the runner's head, how he's scanning all the players around him, it literally will trick you into thinking it's real at times. It definitely looks better. It looks better than last year's Madden. I'm now excited to see how this year's Madden looks. If I'm assuming it has a lot of the stuff that's in this game. But the rest of it is all the same. You get all the same modes. You get Dynasty mode, which is where you play as a coach. You can choose to play as a head coach or an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator. And then you just go through the season. You do actually play the games if you want to. You can just coach if you want to, or you can play through them if you want to. And then in between each game, you go to recruiting. And the recruiting is exactly the same as it was in the last game. You basically have a handful of options. You have X number of hours every week that you can spend recruiting, and each option, go and visit the family, check in on social media. There's 5 different things like that, and each one of them costs a certain amount of hours. And when you run out of hours for the week, that's all you can do. You can recruit 35 players at a time. All this stuff is exactly the same as it was in the last game.
But I like that all the visual representation of the arrows on the field and all the it's all chalk because it's a school. Because it's not.
They're
it's
not
slick
pro.
as the NFL, but also because you draw in chalk. It was it's somehow that's really stupid, but also really works.
Yeah.
I don't know why I find that appealing.
Now it does have the college specific stuff. It has the wishbone offense. It has option plays. It has a lot more RPO right on time with the option play. It has a lot more RPO, which is run pass option plays. The NFL has started doing that a lot more in recent years, but that used to really be a college thing. So it's a much bigger element here.
Yeah. I've had the difference between college football and NFL explained to me more times than I can remember, and I never remember it's a nuance that I do not understand or care about.
Yeah, it's just certain formations in college they'll run a power I, which is 3 running backs in a line behind the quarterback. That never happens in the pros.
Yeah. My dad used to say one of the things my dad used to say is that he liked college football better because they're younger and they're all learning, so they fuck up more.
They do, yeah.
So it's less by rote.
There's X factors for sure. Yeah, a good player even can make a boneheaded mistake and turn the whole game for sure. There's an angle to that. But the Dynasty mode is literally the same exact mode as it was 11 years ago. Then there's Road to Glory, where you're a high school kid. You can choose whether you're like elite or a blue chip or a contributor or whatever. And obviously, whichever one of those you select makes it easier or more difficult to make it onto a big college squad. You go through the whole recruiting process and you get to pick the team that you end up on. But the thing about that mode is you only play as your player. And like, I chose a quarterback and I chose Michigan. So my quarterback was the third string quarterback. For the first season, I never got into a game. You go to the games and it sims it and it just goes all this crazy crap and then it ends. You never played. And eventually the game tries to remedy that by giving you these roster position battles. So there was, after like the 5th game and doing practices in between the games that give you points or whatever that you can use to level up your player. After you do that for a while, they give you a shot to dethrone the guy ahead of you by playing like 3 practice mini games, and it's like impossible. My whole first season, I stayed the third string quarterback at Michigan. I never played a damn game. But again, it's exactly like it was in the last NCAA football. And as I mentioned, there's Ultimate Team. And, I mean, look, everything works the way it's supposed to. I felt like the option plays were great. Like, the controls were intuitive. It has all the same stuff as Madden, so I could jump
King,
right...
huh?
Yeah, that's the name the game gave him. And I saw that, and I'm like, I'm just keeping it. Because Prince King, is there a better name? And this is, what we're seeing right now is Road to Glory. This is me. This is my guy that ended up on Michigan. Here I am in practices because I couldn't play games, so the only thing I could do was between games, go and practice, and then earn skill points that I can attribute to my player in hopes that I eventually end up taking over the starting job. But that never happened for me because I could not dethrone the guy in front of me because literally the scores that you have to put up in the mini games to dethrone the starter are absurd. I don't know how anybody would ever do it. So everybody's freaking out about this game. I just really think it's a case of absence makes the heart grow fonder. People haven't had access to it for a long time. And in some cases, a lot of people just never played the game when it was available 11 years ago and just don't know that it's the same game over. Now, should I give EA some props because it isn't a disaster? Sure. But they've had 11 years to make the damn game. Like, it better not be a disaster, and it better have all the modes that it had before. They have plenty of time to get this game in shape. So it's good. It's a good college game. And look, if you're interested in it, you've missed the franchise, absolutely go and buy it. Full price. I don't think you'll regret it at all if you love college football. But for people who normally like pro football, and they're like, hey, is this actually... Because what's happening, Matt, is the word is getting out that this game is way better than Madden. And it's not. I hate to say it, but it is in some ways kind of a reskinned Madden or a reskinned NCAA football 14 or whatever, which was the last year that it came out. So it's good. I struggle to say it's great, but it is a buy if you're a college football fan. If you're a casual college football fan, I would maybe wait for the price to come down. But, you know, in a year's time, College Football 26 will be out, and then they'll discount the prior game. And actually, for college football fans, that might be good enough buying the discounted version of the prior year. Because, again, the big deal is that there are real players in this, but does it really matter all that much? I don't know. But look, it does. If you're into college football, it has all the stuff. You're seeing here in this B-roll, like, all the game intros, like Florida State, the guy comes out on the horse, and every team has it. Even small, dinky teams, like you saw earlier, Navy. Navy always has, like, the flyover, and they have their intro. Like, they really have managed to even find the minutia in college football and make sure that it's in the game. So again, if you are a fan of college football, I think you will love it. You won't regret buying it, and I think you should buy it at full price. Everybody else, I think, should proceed with caution. So, I don't know. I've probably spent 15 hours this week playing it. Like I said, I played through the whole season of Road to Glory. I made it mostly through the first season of Dynasty. Admittedly, I did not make it to the end so I could see what happened.
Out of the way, Ref. Come on.
Exactly. Sadly, I did not make it all the way through the end of the season so I could see what happened in the off season, which normally I do like to do before I review this game. I just ran out of time and didn't get there. But I've played enough of it to feel pretty confident in my recommendations. Also, again, having played pretty much every NCAA football that ever came before this and reviewing each of those games. So it's not as exciting and new as people are saying it is or as EA is trying to sell it as, but ultimately it is a solid, competent college football game that has all the bells and whistles that you would expect, plus a little bit extra stuff for like hardcore fans of college football. Like this stuff. Like, there's Ohio State's band. That's their big things. And every team has something like that. So if you are a big fan of any of these teams that you're seeing in here, I think you're going to be pretty satisfied with how they handle your alma mater. I think they handle every school with at least a modicum of respect. So I think people will appreciate that.
How many schools are there?
All of them.
All of them.
Yeah. It's like 116, I think there are. Something like that. That's major college football. Then there's like FBS 2 or whatever the hell it's called, and that's a whole other set of teams, and they're all in there. So it's a lot. Like I think there's 11,000 players or something in this. It's really insane. Because I mean, it's crazy that they have like second and third stringers, and they're the real dudes. Like, and they're all getting I think $600 like each player.
400.
Is it 400?
400 and a copy of the game.
Yeah,
is what I read in one of the.
Which better than
things I
nothing.
saw.
One thing I will say, though, that they did add into this that is new to college football that wasn't in the old games is NIL, name, image, likeness. So now college football players can get paid. So say you're playing for Temple in Philadelphia. Players at Temple in Philadelphia can go around to the local car dealerships in Philadelphia, and they can write them checks and get paid. And that's in this game. Like as you get into the Road to Glory mode, once you get past like week 5, you start getting offers for NIL deals. And there's this whole other component about like reputation, and it plays into that. If you get an NIL deal, then your reputation rating goes up, and that makes it more likely that they'll give you a shot to dethrone the starter at all. So there are some smaller elements of college football that have changed in the last 10 years that they have managed to slide in there. So again, it's very authentic, and I think for college football fans, that's what they're looking for. That's why I recommend, if you are one of those people, that you should buy it. Any questions, Matt?
Nope.
Let's see if chat has any questions. I'm guessing not because it is a sports game. Vincent says, don't forget, if you have Game Pass Ultimate, you can try it for free for 10 hours on Xbox. That is true. Major Skittles, thank you for subscribing with Twitch Prime. That's awesome. Vincent says, that's not fair. It's like they were developing it for 11 years waiting for the legal battles to clear up. Yeah, I mean, they could have worked on this all along. Like, they totally could have.
They weren't though.
They probably weren't.
They were working it was probably like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, my guess is probably 3 years that they worked on it.
The advantage of this is like you probably never need to remake those team special stuff ever again.
No,
like that's not going to change. Those are all traditions.
Yeah, I mean they're going to be able to make this next year. There will be a college football 26, and off we go on EA's magic carpet ride. We've been on with so many other of its sports franchises throughout the years. And again, I think a big draw for all EA's games is Ultimate Team. And to me, it just seems ridiculous in this. Like, I had no interest in it at all. Like, I know college football. Like, I know probably the top 5 candidates for the Heisman this year. I probably know who the top 3 quarterbacks are in college football. And then I know Temple. And that's pretty much it. So, and I think most people are that way. Like, you know your favorite college team and maybe not as much about the league as you do generally in the NFL. So, for me...
I don't even have a favorite college team because my college team, I went to
Division 4 or something.
I went to St. Mary's. I think we were Division 3, and we got downgraded to Division 4 while I was there. And because we used to the rivalry used to be with Santa Clara. And when they downgraded the division, like the football team wasn't going to play Santa Clara anymore.
Oh,
so they tried to start like the same rivalry with the basketball teams. And I remember, like, the game, they tried to really, like, amp the rivalry up. The Santa Clara team was like, what are you doing? Like, what's wrong with you? Like they just weren't into it. And, like, they spent, like, the rest of my time there was, like a lot of the athletes were really annoyed that they'd come to St. Mary's expecting, like, a big rivalry with Santa Clara, and it never happened because they got bumped out of the division.
Well, they use that to recruit.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things you can use in recruiting in this game is, like, appeal to their rivalry sensibilities or whatever. Like, you can use all those sort of psychological angles to try to get people to come to your team. The recruiting in this, again, it's the same as it always was, and I felt like the algorithm was pretty accurate. Like, I couldn't get big recruits to come to Temple, and Temple doesn't give you big recruits. So, and truth be told, Matt, your college football team could probably beat Temple, even though Temple's Division 1, because they're just that bad. So anyway, there you go. That's College Football 25. And again, I'm not surprised that there are no questions from you guys about it at all. Okay. And with that, it's now time for... That's right. It's time for Name That Game, where I show you 5 screenshots from a video game, and you try to guess the name of the game before this guy does. A couple things before we get going. If you have won this year, do not play. You can only win once every calendar year. Number 2, if you are not a PC player, please do not play. If you win a free PC game, and we want to make sure that the winnings go to people who will actually use it. And then finally, the chat is in slow mode, meaning you can only input one chat every 60 seconds, and after that, you're cut off. So be very careful with your guesses, because you may guess all willy-nilly and get it wrong, and then you see the next screenshot, and you're like, I know what that game is, and you won't be able to input it and win the game. So just make sure that you guess wisely, and you're not just spamming the chat with random video game titles. This week, I think we might make it pretty far, but we'll see. I'm always wrong about this, so we'll see how it goes. Are you ready, Matt?
Sure.
Are you guys ready to play Name That Game? Here we go. Here's the first screenshot in 3, 2, 1. Just a texture. Is it enough? No guesses so far. Control, no. That's a good guess, though. I could see why you guessed that. Grounded, no. Shadow of War, no. Metal Gear Rising, Revengeance, no. People seem to be getting smart. They're not guessing so much on the first image anymore unless it's obvious. Okay, I think that's all the guesses on the first one. All right, here we go. Here's the second image in 3, 2, 1. See if that sparks anyone's memories. Mario Tennis, no. Vincent says, I guess that's a moral victory for them not guessing it right away. Yep. Too Human, no. Bayonetta, no. Warhammer Space Marine, no. That would be clever of me, wouldn't it? God of War, no. No guesses, Matt?
No, it kind of looks like Prince of Persia to me.
Not Prince of Persia. And I'll just let you know, it's not the whole franchise Prince of Persia. It's not a Prince of Persia game.
That ring looks familiar.
Yeah. There's clues in that ring. Someone, look, Super Master Gamer against Prince of Persia. But nope. Forspoken, no. Interesting. God of War 2, no. Vincent says, if that's what I think it is, it would be funny. Too Human. 2 guesses for Too Human. No, it's not, though. Resident Evil 8, no. I would like to see a Resident Evil that looked like that, though. From Jaeger shots. Nice. You call yourself Jaeger Bomb. That's one of my favorite shots, Jaeger Bombs. Immortals of Avium. No. That's a good guess, though. Chevelle Man, 1979. All right. Any more guesses on the second image before we... Shadow the Hedgehog. No. All right. Going once. Going twice. Okay. We're going to make it to the third image. In 3, 2, 1. Go. That's a big hint. L.A. Noire, no.
That was before you put the...
Yeah, I know. Eric Cartmanis likes to have fun. And I appreciate that. Guardians of the Galaxy, no. Destiny, no. Mass Effect 3, no. And I think I do have to give it to Stucky. He got it right. It is Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, so I'll give it to you. I paused for a second. I'm like, the acronym, I don't know if that's good enough, but that is good enough. Try to type out titles in the future. But you had it right. Vanquish, obviously not. Mass Effect 3, obviously not. Stucky, it is all you, bro. You won. Congratulations. And then here's the fourth shot. Would that have done anything for you, Matt?
No. They all look vaguely familiar, but I didn't play this game long enough to commit it all to memory.
Okay. And then here's the fifth one. Spider-Man's finger. and I think that probably would have given
and
it away.
AIM.
Yeah, I think that probably would have given it away.
Aimbrella would, if you don't get it from that.
Yep. All right. There you go. Congratulations to Stucky for winning Name That Game. As always, you can reach out to us here on Twitch. You can DM us there. You can DM me on Sifted, where I'm at Shane. You can DM us on Twitter, at Sifted Games, or I'm at Dinfire on Twitter. A million ways to get at us. Just do it, Stucky, and I'll get you your code for your PC game. And congratulations once again for winning Name That Game. And now we have 10 minutes. Almost 10 minutes to do Q&A. Which we have not had 10 minutes to do Q&A in forever. We got through this show, Matt, with 4 reviews on time. I don't know how we did it.
We did it by all the games being
Yeah. Pretty much.
There was nothing to really get into. There's nothing to argue about. There was nothing to really...
Or even get excited about.
No,
Yeah.
Just sort of like, yep.
That's it.
They were, in fact, games.
Yep. Userfriendly.exe. Thank you for Twitch Prime. Ask us some questions. If we don't have any questions, we're just going to end the stream. I know we don't get to do this very often anymore, and you may not be ready to ask us questions, but here we are. We're ready to answer some. Vincent asks, better weird Capcom experiment, Path of the Goddess or Exoprimal? Definitely Path of the Goddess.
Oh, yeah. Exoprimal's garbage.
Yeah, Exoprimal was just crap. Like, Path of the Goddess has some promise, but some obvious issues that we discussed. Mm-hmm. It's still...
Also, Exoprimal feels like an executive order,
yeah,
chasing of the current thing, whereas Path of the Goddess, I don't even have a theory how that game got made.
Yeah. Yep. Any other questions? Dreylox, a former winner of Name That Game. Any interest in the new Magic set coming out, Matt?
I have actually pre-ordered the 4 Commander decks for Bloomborough, yes, because I think it's adorable.
Awesome.
Bloomborough is the new set is all like anthropomorphic magic animals.
Oh.
Like, they're very, very cute. Like, there's a necromancer squirrel who raises, like, dead rodent skeletons out of it.
That's pretty cool.
Say what you will about Magic, but, man, they are on point with the art every single time.
Yeah.
The art's great. And I also got the Fallout decks back when those came out, because those are pretty cool.
Yeah.
A lot of I got the Transformers Secret Lair drop. I don't play Magic too much, but I do keep up with some of the weird... So I got the Godzilla, limited
collector stuff.
Yeah, like if they do, I didn't do the Transformers ones in the packs because they're like 2 per box, and that's like crazy. Like 2 per box, there's like 12 of them, and then there's rare versions of all of them, and like you're talking about spending $1,000 to get these things. I was like, no, but I got the Secret Lair drop of like the more popular stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, that was cool.
Oh, now the questions are rolling in. Awesome. You guys are motivated now. Rock and Roll 458. What's the franchise that's been dormant that you would like to see revived in gaming? There aren't many left. Yeah.
Dino Crisis is the standard.
We talk about it all the time.
Before this year, I would have said Dragon's Dogma, maybe.
There's a bunch of there's a bunch of Dreamcast franchises. Those are all being revived now that I wanted to see.
A lot of those. I mean, I'd like to see a new Panzer Dragoon game.
That was my next. That's what I was going to say next.
I'd like to see
Panzer Dragoon Saga 2.
I'd like to see a new Phantasy Star game, and by Phantasy Star I mean an actual RPG, not this Phantasy Star Online 2 dribble.
Yeah.
Because I don't even you could show me Phantasy Star 2 online, Phantasy Star Online 2 all you want. I would never guess it was Phantasy Star.
No, me either. I didn't resonate with it at all. And I played the first Phantasy Star Online for literally like 300 hours.
Soul Reaver's a good pick.
Yep. Yeah. One Super Master Gamer asked if we tried the new Amazon Xbox app. I don't even know what that is.
I don't know. No, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what you're asking about there. Zet Saber says, scroll up for my question. Or you could have just asked it again, Zet Saber, instead of asking us to scroll up.
I didn't see it. Oh, there it is.
Where?
It's up more. You missed it.
Oh, okay. Aside from Matt's inverted y-axis, do you guys do any other obscure button remaps? I tend to put dodge, parry, dash on R1 because my index finger has faster reflexes due to PC gaming. I'm also used to using R1 to block for whatever reason. Like, if I had my druthers, R1 would be block in pretty much every game I play.
I think of L is blocked to me.
But I still never set it up. Like, I usually just play the default control scheme.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I changed the control scheme other than the invert Y.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't touch anything usually. I just usually play by the default settings. And probably, I think most people do. But they do try to make it easier now to like for example, the crazy PlayStation DualSense Edge that I got from Justin Horman. Like, you can set up profiles in there, and you just tap, like, down on these little thumb things, and you can choose from, like, 5 different profiles right there. Like, they're trying to make it easier to do custom control schemes, but I still don't do it. Let's see. Maybe one more. Thoughts on Long Legs? I don't even know anything about it, but I know it's something because I saw it like on social media. Is that a movie or?
It's a movie. It's a horror movie.
Is it?
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
I know one of our friends who is a big horror movie person saw it and hated it.
Okay.
Hated it.
Okay. Last one, Mitchell Ness. With the release of Still Wasted Deep and Nobody Wants to Die, there's a continued trend of smaller studios making some exceptional high graphics in budget price games. How do you see this trend evolving? What has enabled these studios to create more impressive visuals than your conventional AAA? It's
Unreal.
Yeah. I mean, everybody. Here's
Unreal
the thing.
5.
Like, it feels like the playing field is just being leveled, Matt. Like, the smallest studios can make really good-looking games now, and it's awesome. Like, they shouldn't have to. I don't feel like developers should have to struggle with the technical side of game development to make their creative ideas come to life. Like, the technical side, making a game look pretty, have great animation, lighting, and all this stuff, that should be easy. Like, it's like there's an art still to filming stuff, obviously, with cameras, but cameras have gotten better and better so that even idiots like me can take pretty good pictures with this iPhone. That's kind of where games are at right now. Like, they haven't got quite there yet, but these middleware programs are so good at this point that it like is taking a lot of the technical part out of it and just letting people just be creative. And I think that's what's happened. I think it's been a huge boon for indie games. Like, there is just so many good-looking games coming out now. And that's why I was kind of put off by Flintlock, because I really feel like that game does not look really good at all for 2024. And I don't feel like I have excuses anymore for studios that can't produce good-looking games, because most of them do. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like graphically, for the most part, the playing field has been pretty much leveled. Because the tools are just so simple and easy to use now.
Yeah, although I think those kinds of games are easier to do that with, because you're not doing fast, you're not doing fast action, you're not doing a lot of vertical stuff, you're not, like, it's, the adventure game is sort of the place to put that, because, like, the other game I would say think of in that kind of category would be Indica.
Yep.
Which again looks way better than you'd think.
Yeah.
You don't look at that and think of and realize
20-man team.
that's such a small team.
Yeah.
That went through dispersal during a war.
Yeah.
Like,
it's really great to see.
So it's definitely. I think you can just see it more and more.
Yeah, I think it's just going to get better and better for sure. So Mitchell, you've picked up on it.
I just hope that they iron out some of the weird problems the Unreal 5 stuff has with, like, performance.
Yep. There's this weird stuttering issues.
The weird stuttering is always there.
Yeah.
In some form or some degree. It's
weird. They can't figure that out. With all the resources that Epic has.
Epic of all people should be able to figure that out.
It's really crazy. Yep. Okay. That's going to do it for Game Face episode 396. Before we go, I want to remind you guys that we are supported 100% at patreon.com/sifted. That's SIFTD for just $4 a month, and that is lower than pretty much every other gaming Patreon at this point. You get all our content at least 4 days early. You get Pachter Factor a week early. We really appreciate it if you could go there. That really means the most to us. That's money that we can generally rely on. Usually when people become patrons, they stick with it for an extended period of time. That's money that we can rely on to help grow our site, grow our business, grow our content. So again, please head to patreon.com/sifted. We could really use the help there, and we would really appreciate it. If you're hurting right now for money, there's stuff you can do to help us still. If you're a subscriber to Amazon Prime, link your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, and you can start giving us a free $2.50 every month just by subscribing with your free subscription to our Twitch channel at twitch.tv/siftedgames. If you're watching the show on YouTube right now, the instructions for that are down below. If you've already hooked them up, go and do it right now. There's a link in the description. You can just click it once, and then it literally takes 3 seconds to give us $2.50. We'd appreciate it very much. And if you don't even have Amazon Prime and you're really hurting for cash, like the show, comment on the show, subscribe. Most importantly, share the show on Twitter, on Facebook, on TikTok, wherever you do your social media-ing. Share the show. That's what really helps us. It helps the view counts grow, which helps us with the algorithm on YouTube, which helps expose the show. If you really believe Game Face is the best gaming podcast in the world, and you guys say it pretty much every week on YouTube, do something about it. Tell people about it. Because how else are people going to find out? How else are we going to grow? How else are we going to do better and create even better content for you guys going forward? we need more money to do it. And we just really appreciate it if you could help us in any way. Again, head to patreon.com/sifted. We'd appreciate even $1 a month. We'd appreciate it very much. So, Matt, thanks for a great show. Thanks to you guys for showing up in an off day. This is a Wednesday episode of Game Face. We will be back normally on Tuesday, our normal time next week, which means we have one less day to play games. Until then, I think we'll survive. But have yourselves a great week. We'll see you next Tuesday. Game Face is up and out.